All right, good evening, everybody. This is Tech Thursdays, episode 177. We're going to be talking about new hardware announcements that were announced this week, as well as sometime last week, I think. And then we're going to talk about some games probably for the rest of the stream, since there's not anything really new. You know, it's pretty much the same all year. There have been a few new CPUs that came out back in the first half of the year, but really, this year, you know, continues on as a year that is not a very good year to be building a PC. So unfortunately, it is what it is, but we're going to try to make the best of it with this episode. We're going to talk about some news articles related to motherboards and CPUs, because we haven't talked about motherboards in a while, and I feel like a large chunk of my audience that discovered this channel discovered it through the content I did on motherboards, making this channel kind of a motherboard skewed channel, more so than other tech related channels. So we're going to talk about motherboards. We haven't talked about them in a while. That's kind of why I have this as the thumbnail here. But the thing about the motherboards, so this article came out today on WCCF Tech. PC motherboards are now more expensive, with Asus bumping up both AMD and Intel lineups as PCB supply runs dry. I find this kind of hard to believe, because the PCB is not really the thing, like memory. Actually, you know, let's just dig into it, because the article is probably going to talk about how AI data, if I had to guess without reading the article, I'm going to guess that AI data centers are gobbling up PCB for the server boards. That's my guess as to what's going on. So it says here, motherboard makers, including Asus, have started implementing price bumps across their product lineups amidst component shortages. So here we go, component shortages, here we come. We're now entering the third phase of this 7-phase long nightmare. People are calling it the RAM apocalypse. The RAM apocalypse. Well, it's starting to affect other things. So motherboard, so let's see, PC components such as PCBs, VRMs, and capacitors, there's a new one, that go into making a product are in shortage due to the heightened demand from, here we go, enterprise and cloud segments that are racing to build multi-gigawatt systems. These enterprise giants are willing to pay much more than what regular PC audiences pay. And a large majority of component... Well, the other thing, too, is that you got to keep in mind that these enterprise boards have a lot more layers. These are typically like 12-layer PCBs, 10-layer, 12-layer PCBs. So they're a lot thicker than, you know, your typical 6-layer budget motherboard, or your 8-layer premium motherboard, or even your 10-layer. I guess your 10-layer premium motherboard, like a Godlike, for example, that's kind of like a server board. But these server boards are typically like 10-layer, 12-layer. They're like super thick PCB. So they're ready to pay the prices. That's the thing. So since these enterprises are willing to, and really it's not the enterprises. The article says enterprises. It's still the manufacturers of this equipment that are paying the higher prices. So it's basically, you know, Dell and Lenovo and the guys who do all the other components, like all the computer, like the network side, all that stuff, the photonics, all those things. They're the ones that are going to pay the higher prices for the PCBs because they have to sell those to continue selling to their business customers. So we have seen a sharp surge in their prices, and not only that, the amount required to build data centers, there it is again, data centers, is simply mind-boggling. So PC manufacturers are either left with no supply or have to pay higher prices to get these crucial parts. So that means we could be looking at significantly more expensive PCBs or more expensive motherboards for the next generation, which is not good news for those of you waiting for Nova Lake or Zen 6. Unless you already have an AM5 motherboard, you're going to be in a pretty bad spot if you're looking to upgrade with the next generation motherboards, whether it's Intel or AMD. The only one that carries over, as far as we know, is AM5. So those of you that are already on AM5, you're very lucky because you already have DDR5 memory and you already have a motherboard. So your upgrade path is actually obtainable. But a lot of people are going to be left out in the cold having to pay these enormous, daunting prices for motherboards. And on top of that, if they don't already have DDR5, well, we already kind of know where that goes. So as such, graphics cards, motherboards, CPUs, PSUs, everything is seeing a massive price increase these days. Everything. Keyword, everything is seeing a massive price increase these days. And this cycle isn't ending any time soon based on what every major vendor out there has to say. In the midst of all this, Taiwan-based motherboard manufacturers such as Asus, MSI, Gigabyte, and the rest have started to raise prices across their Intel and AMD lineups. The reason for the price hike is said to be a combination of all the factors listed above. Board channels state that PCB prices have increased by at least 50%. 50% on just the PCB? On just the PCB. They literally also said that there's a shortage of capacitors. That means there's a shortage of lumped circuit elements. That is very bad. Because that means if you're someone who is ordering, let's say you're ordering a data center switch, or you're ordering a server, you're going to be delayed because the power supply doesn't have the capacitors to ship on time. So the whole thing is going to be subject to long lead times because the power supply. So I guess if you guys don't already have a high-end power supply, and when I say high-end power supply, I'm talking like 1200 watts or more. Yeah, you're already behind the 8 ball at this point. So which has led board makers to rethink their PCB strategy, and since the PC market isn't doing well, the margins are running low. So it's like they're really trying to 1-2 punch, kill off this PC DIY hobby and get people to consider cloud streaming of games, subscription-based services, lease-to-own pre-builts, or things of that nature. I feel like that's going to be like the new thing that we're going to start seeing from the marketing on these things soon. Taiwanese motherboard manufacturers warn of planned price increases in Q3. Research on the upstream supply chain of Taiwanese motherboard manufacturers reveals that the price of PCBs using consumer motherboards is expected to increase by at least 50%. 50%. That means what used to be a $500 motherboard will become a $750 motherboard. And that means I don't even want to continue this thought. This is very depressing. In addition to prices of raw materials such as copper, surface mount capacitors, there we go, power supplies, supporting control chips that have also risen significantly, with multiple factors contributing to the overall increase in motherboard material costs. The industry is currently facing significant challenges. On the one hand, demand in the DIY market continues to weaken. Demand in the DIY market continues to weaken. Oh, gee, I wonder why that's happening. I wonder why there's not a lot of demand. to build a new computer in 2026, leading to a sharp decline in motherboard shipments. So that's going to have a positive feedback loop where people aren't buying anything. Like, people are not going to buy motherboards. Therefore, Asus and everyone is going to like reduce their spend on manufacturing of motherboards, leading to a lower supply of motherboards, which will then in turn create a artificial increase in demand for motherboards to readjust. As a result, the motherboards will be priced even higher to offset the lack of supply. This is natural supply and demand curve. So we're talking, like a godlike motherboard. Let's just say if a godlike is normally like $1,000, we're talking like $1,500 to $1,800 for the next generation godlike. If we're looking at like a $700 Crosshair Hero or Maximus Hero, that's gonna probably be like $1,000, $1,100, somewhere around there for the next generation of the Hero class of motherboard. And if we're looking at like a Strix-E, that's typically a $500 motherboard. So that's going to be like an $800 motherboard now. So everything is getting so incredibly expensive. We'll look at some of the component prices in a little bit later in the stream just to check where things are at. But it looks like Taiwanese motherboard manufacturers are squeezed by a triple whammy of reduced... Okay, this is what I just said. Reduced volume leads to stagnant prices and rising costs, resulting in significantly deteriorating profitability and pressure on their stock prices in the secondary market. As a result, they're going to raise their prices. So the market consensus is that financial reports from various companies will continue to decline in 2026, highlighting their challenging operating conditions. Based on... there was another thing that was posted recently. Just now, like as of this month, or maybe it was last month, it was probably last month since August just started. There is now a notable decrease, like a shrinkage, like a reduction in growth in the consumer electronics market. It's official now. Like, analysts can see it. It's clear as day. So that's kind of ridiculous, like it took this long for the normal consumer market. So when I say what I'm referring to is like the sales of smartphones, the sales of normie laptops from Best Buy, like that like MacBooks. Those things are also negatively impacted by this. So like all those things, a reduction in all those things. So based on channel information, Taiwanese motherboards manufacturers are highly likely to implement a new round of price increases in Q3 of this year. That means until the end of September, which doesn't mean that it's going to go down after September. Manufacturers hope to alleviate the pressure of continuously accumulating component costs and restore their profitability through price adjustments. More importantly, they aim to moderately streamline the channel price difference structure and improve the meager... So, okay, this is what I would tell them they need to do. This is what I would tell Asus, Gigabyte, MSI, ASRock, BioStar, Sapphire, whoever makes motherboards. It also applies to those who make graphics cards, although that's kind of a different market. It's still similar. They're still having to produce PCBs. I would tell them they need to streamline their product offerings, meaning there doesn't need to be like 7 different RTX 5070s from like Gigabyte. Why does Gigabyte need to have a 5070 Eagle, a 5070 Aorus, a 5070 Aorus Master, a 5070 Aorus Pro, you know what I'm saying? You get my point, right? Like, they don't need to have 7 or like half a dozen different choices of the same exact graphics card. That they need to reduce that, because that is bloat. That creates confusion within the consumers' choices. Like, it's sometimes too many choices is too much. You know, like analysis paralysis, you get too many to choose from. It's like, which one am I supposed to get? You know, which ones am I supposed to get? Am I supposed to get the one that has the highest price because it's the most expensive one? Therefore, it must be twice the better? Or am I supposed to get the one that Linus from Linus Tech Tips said to get? Or am I supposed to get the one that GTR uses? You know, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what am I supposed to do? So that's number one. They need to reduce. I don't need to see 7 different 5070s or like 6 different 5090s or 6 different 9070s or all. You get my point. I don't need to see this. Give me like 2 different ones. Give me a premium one with the RGB, because everybody knows RGB increases your FPS by like 50%. So give me the RGB option, and then also give me the budget one, no lights, stealth mode, whatever you want to call it, you know, the ghetto one with no lights, no RGB. I don't care. Give me like 2 choices. Lights for more money or no lights for less money. I don't need 7 different choices of the same graphics card from the same manufacturer. So that's number one. They can do that, will definitely help. So meaning they need SKU reduction, product consolidation, or whatever you want to call it. That's what I would tell them they need to do, because I'm tired of seeing like all these different graphics cards of the same chip, just slightly different fan profile, slightly different look, different RGB design or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do we need these many different GPUs? So that's what I would tell them to do. That'd be my feedback. That's like step 1 to try to circumvent these problems. Now, I know it's not going to eliminate the problems, but I think it would help. Asus is now one of the first manufacturers to have issued an official notification to its Taiwan-based distributors of a price increase, which goes into effect this month. As per the notification, Intel's 800 and 700 series motherboards will see a price hike of 5 to 30 RMB, while AMD's 800 series motherboards will see a price hike between 20 to 50 RMB. Oh my goodness. So if I had to guess, the reason why the AMD ones are seeing a higher increase in price is because everybody knows that the AM5 motherboards have long-term lifespan, meaning they're going to span like lots of different CPUs. Meanwhile, 700 series is like so 3 years ago, like what in the world? And then the 800 series is technically 2 years old in like a few months. And it's a dead socket on top of that. So yeah, that's the reason why the Intel one's not going up as much as the AMD ones. Because these two don't support Nova Lake, so they're absolutely useless. Looking to the future. So whereas this one technically has a longer lifespan, you know, like you can get one of these and throw Zen 6 in it next year or whenever that decides to show up. So that would be the reason why this one's going up more. Asus motherboards have officially implemented the latest basic director? What does that even mean? Price system in early August, and some models have already increased their prices compared with director. What does they mean by director prices? Details of the director price adjustment policy for some models in August are enclosed. Okay, here we go. All the Intel stuff goes up 20 to 30 yuan. B760, some go up 20 yuan. And individual logistics models rose 5 yuan. H-series logistics models up 5 to 10. So, okay, those are all the Intel ones. And then the AMD ones, basically. Okay, X870 goes up 30 to 50. B850 goes up like 20. Okay, so, yeah. So they're treating B850... They're treating B-series basically the same. And that makes sense. And then if you're going for the premium stuff, like the Z series... Or the, although, yeah, why is this here? Oh, I guess this one is included? Okay. Anyway, X870 is going up 30 to 50. So that's the big one. Which is ironic because that's the only one that I would consider getting. And then other series basic prices. Oh, so it's like, of course, the one that GTR would get is the one that we need to increase the price the most on. You know what I'm saying? Basic prices for all models remain unchanged. On the Intel front, the higher end Z890, Z790 and B860. I don't think B860 is high end, but okay. Will jump between 20 to 30, while B760 will see 20 25. Entry tiers go up 5 to 10 for AMD. X870 sees the biggest price bump between this. Okay, that's because this is the live streamer motherboards. While the B850 series will see 20 RMB bump, the older 600 series entry level will remain unaffected for now. I'm surprised they still make 600 series AM5 boards. I'm actually surprised. Like, legitimately, I had no idea these were still manufactured. Okay, while these aren't major price bumps, they further put pressure on PC buyers who are already affected. Yeah, so this is just all bad news, you know? Like, this is just related to what they call... It's due to... Okay, you know what it says? These $5 to $15 price bumps could end up even higher in the coming months as component shortages intensify due to... I like what they're calling this. The AI crunch cycle. The AI crunch cycle, which continues to swell beyond anyone's expectations. And man, that makes me think of Shadow of the Erdtree, where you go into that one guy's house and he's like, leave now, the madness swells. The AI crunch cycle is swelling beyond anyone's imagination. So anyway, so there's your motherboard news of the week. Probably not the sort of thing that we were expecting to see, but I can't say I'm really surprised by this. Yeah, I'm not looking good. I'm not looking forward to having to buy a motherboard in the next couple of months for a new PC build. That is not going to be fun. Considering the type of motherboards that I buy, this is really not looking like it's going to be financially feasible. We'll see. I may have to increase my my savings targets for these things. I might have to put this off for like another month or so. I don't know. We'll see, because this doesn't look good. But hey, at least I don't have to buy memory. But now motherboards are getting more expensive. So just when you thought you could catch a break because you already had DDR5, now the motherboards are going up. You're tempted to get another one just in case. I've never had a motherboard go bad. I mean, I've had one. So my very first motherboard from like 2006, 2 of the capacitors are swollen. But other than that one, I've never had one go bad. But yeah, that one was using the old caps. You know, the old caps that are on like 6th gen console style that can swell and leak. Yeah. EVGA motherboard. But I highly doubt that you'd have anything to worry about for like your modern motherboard. Prices will double, then it'll die. Well, you know, I got my one AM4 motherboard, my X570 that I used for the SLI, the retro live streams recently. Man, I was swapping GPUs on that thing so much. I was afraid, you know, like if I break one of the PCIe slots on this thing, it's over. Because that's like the most modern motherboard that I have that still supports SLI. Because it still has the NVIDIA license key for SLI. Even though, you know, SLI is kind of irrelevant. But still, you know, like it's fun to try to do a retro build every now and then. How do you feel about used or refurbished motherboards? I mean, I don't really think there's anything wrong with buying refurbished or secondhand for motherboards. You know, you just always have to make sure you're buying... This applies to anything used. You have to make sure that you're buying from someone that's credible and that they stand behind the secondhand hardware that they're selling. That's all I'll say there. I mean, that being said, the only things that I have purchased secondhand, like used or refurb, are like old consoles, like gaming consoles. Like I purchased I'll give you an example. Earlier this year, back in January, I purchased a used Xbox 360S and a GameCube and a Nintendo Wii, like first generation Wii. So the one that can plug in like the GameCube cards and stuff. So I purchased like 3 retro consoles, all in January, all used secondhand, reefer, whatever you want to call it, from GameStop. Uh, and all of them work. They work fine. The hard drive on the Xbox works fine. So it's like I don't have any problems, but that's because I bought it from GameStop, and GameStop basically, like they're gonna guarantee that it works. If it doesn't work, I just return it. So if you're buying secondhand like a motherboard, usually that means that you're gonna buy it from somebody, whether that's like Facebook Marketplace or whatever local um, selling website you use, whether it's like eBay or something. And it's kind of harder to vet those things. So you'd have to be a little bit more, you have to do a little bit more due diligence on buying used in that manner. Unless you can buy it from like a local store, like a retail store that deals in like selling used secondhand stuff, then you're probably better off that way. But yeah, I typically don't buy a lot of used hardware unless it's from someone who I actually know. Like if it's someone who I actually know and actually trust, then I would buy it. But I typically don't buy a lot of used hardware. I'll buy consoles because consoles are consoles, But stuff like this, I'm not against doing it. I'm just saying you just got to do your research. You can't find Pro. Why would you want a Pro Art? That thing doesn't have a postcode debug. I wouldn't get that motherboard. I wouldn't recommend them. I don't recommend that motherboard. If you want an Asus motherboard, I would tell you to get the Strix. So on this picture right here, you have the Pro Art right here. Like between these two white motherboards, there's the Pro Art. Instead of getting the Pro Art, I would recommend the motherboard that on the far left side, the Strix. Oh, you need DisplayPort input? If you need DisplayPort input, you should get the. I don't know how hard it'll be for you to get this, but you could always just get the Crosshair or the Strix, and you can add the USB 4 add-in card from Asus, and that would give you the full DisplayPort input, the dual Thunderbolt 4, aka USB 4. Actually, hold on. I gotta rethink my statement there, because I don't even know if these motherboards support that. I know the older ones did. I don't know if the newer ones do, because the newer ones have the ASM. Actually, you know what? Never mind. You can't do what I said on the X870. You can only do it on X670. Yeah. If you're on because you said X670. If you're on X670, you can, to my knowledge, you can add the USB 4 via the add-in card, and that gives you DisplayPort input. We did a video about that like 2 years ago on this channel. You may need to look into that. Otherwise, yeah, if you really need that DisplayPort input for like a Thunderbolt monitor or something, I mean, what are you going to use the DisplayPort input for? The Thunderbolt monitor? Do you understand what that's for? I assume because you know what that is, you know what it's for. But maybe it's time to activate Paint. So this is the motherboard. This is the back of the motherboard. Here's DisplayPort input. Here's DisplayPort input. Here's the GPU down here. This is DisplayPort. This is DisplayPort. This is, okay, whatever. DisplayPort, HDMI. This is the graphics card. This is DisplayPort input. This is Thunderbolt port number 1. This is Thunderbolt port number 2, aka USB 4. Just so that people know, USB 4 equals Thunderbolt 3/4. We'll just say Thunderbolt 4. We've done lots of videos on this to prove this. And then, so we have USB. So basically what happens is you plug your DisplayPort on your GPU into the DisplayPort input on the motherboard. And then what happens? Okay, you know how to use it. Okay, but I'm explaining it for people who don't know what this is for. Because you'd be surprised how many people see a DisplayPort input and they have no idea what that's for. They think it's for like live streaming. That's actually not what it's for. It's not for live streaming. Inside the motherboard, there is a chip. There is a chip. This motherboard is called X870E ProArt from ASUS. There's a chip. What is this chip called? Who knows what this chip is called? Who knows what it is? I'll give you a hint. It is responsible for providing USB 4 functionality for these two USB Type-C ports. These are 40 gigabit USB 4 ports. Okay, so you're on the right track. It starts with the letter A. A blank blank something number 42. You got it. ASM 4242. Every single X870E motherboard, every single X870E motherboard contains soldered directly on the PCB on ASM 4242. Every single X870E motherboard. This is one of the reasons why X870E is expensive. X870 also contains ASM 4242. So here's kind of like the secret pro tip. Every AM5 motherboard from 2024 and beyond, well, until today, that has USB 4 includes the ASM 4242 chipset from ASMedia, because the desktop AM5 CPU does not contain the ability to natively provide USB 4 signals. There is no physical PHY interface on the AM5 CPU, whether we're talking Zen 4 or Zen 5. Therefore, it must be provided via a third-party chipset. If you are someone who has the X670E ProArt or the X670E Crosshair or the X670E Tai Chi, if you're someone who has the previous generation of AM5, meaning the first generation of AM5, these are 2022 motherboards, 2022 AM5 motherboards. If you're someone who owns one of these, you do not have an ASM 4242, even though your motherboard offers USB 4. Instead, your AM5 motherboard contains, well, let's see who knows this. This is a more advanced question. What is the chipset on these motherboards that provides the USB 4 functionality? We have YouTube videos on all of this stuff. Does anybody know? I'll give you a hint. It comes from a company called Intel. Yes, that's right. An AMD AM5 motherboard from 2022 or 2023 has an Intel. You got it. JHL 8540. Yes, the famous Intel JHL 8540, aka the Thunderbolt 4 chipset from Intel, exists on select AMD AM5 motherboards from the previous generation. So basically what happened was, so if you guys want to understand the history behind this, originally when Zen 4 was going to launch back in 2022, they were supposed to use the ASM 4242, but as media ran into some kind of supply snag and they couldn't bulk manufacture them in time. So the motherboard manufacturers had to find an alternative supplier. In comes Intel. Intel's like, hey man, I got some USB 4 for you. And they're like, okay, just know this is gonna go on an AMD board. And they're like, wait, what? This is gonna go on an AMD, huh? So Intel was kind of like, they still would sell it because they would still make money, right? Like they're gonna sell it even though it's going on their competitor's motherboard. So they're okay with that. But they were like, well, you can't call it Thunderbolt. Call it USB 4. Don't call it Thunderbolt. But it's literally the Thunderbolt 4 chipset, just branded USB 4. So there, I mean, you go in the BIOS, it's hilarious. Go watch some of my videos on this topic. If you go look up on the channel, we've done videos on JHL 8540. There's like 3 videos at least on the channel all about JHL 8540. And there is one video on ASM, maybe there's 2 videos on ASM 4242, including the Asus USB 4 add-in card, the video that I used to show how to add Thunderbolt 4 to Threadripper using the Asus add-in card. That's an ASM 4242 PCIe card. And I use that all the time. I use it every day, actually. So, you know, we've done content on this before. And then there's another one, but we're not going to get too sidetracked on this. Just know that if you have an older, like if you have an X670 or X670E motherboard that has, or here's the funny thing, B650E Tai Chi. B650E Tai Chi contains the Intel JHL. Yeah, a B650E motherboard from ASRock contains USB 4 via the Intel chipset. So you got Intel on the older motherboards for AM5, and then you have ASMedia on all the new ones. So eventually the ASMedia supply normalized, and AMD for all the X870, X870, and X870E, they all have ASM 4242, but like the older ones that offered USB 4, they have the Intel chip in them. So just be aware. I mean, it all works the same at the end of the day. So, yeah. So going back to the thing, the original thing was, what is the DisplayPort input for? So this is DisplayPort. This is DP in, and then this is your regular DisplayPort out. So what happens is this signal, so the GPU video signal, internally, it's soldered on the motherboard's PCB. It goes into the ASM. And then inside this chip is basically using the Thunderbolt protocol, basically USB 4 protocol, which offers something called PCIe tunneling. PCIe tunneling. So what makes Thunderbolt and USB 4 very, very good is you can carry video signals. So you can carry network, well, we can say data, video, well, video is a form of data, but we'll just say this. So because data sounds very broad, we'll say storage, video, and networking signals can all traverse over the Thunderbolt, aka USB 4, interface, because all of these signals can traverse PCIe. PCIe can tunnel over USB 4. USB 4 provides the overhead control plane signaling to maintain the bidirectional handshake for the data flow. And it also allows for things like plug and play, because PCIe is not plug and play. You can't just pull your GPU out of your computer while your computer is running and playing a game. That is not how it works. That's not how PCIe is designed to work. It's not meant for plug and play. However, USB 4 and Thunderbolt 4 provide plug and play capability. So what can we do with this DisplayPort input? Well, we can feed the video signal into the ASM, and then we can multiplex that signal alongside network signaling or storage signaling. Anything that can run over PCIe will be multiplexed onto the USB 4 interface on the back of the motherboard, basically outputting a data signal. We'll use this in orange. So it outputs a data signal, and then this can plug into some kind of device that can receive that signal and knows how to decode that signal. So if you connect this, for example, to a monitor, like a PC monitor that can support the Thunderbolt or USB 4 signaling, which includes a video channel signal from the graphics card, because it got multiplexed into that data signal over USB 4, you can literally output to a monitor from USB-C. But the monitor has to support the decoding of that USB 4 signal, because that's technically not a pure video signal. It is a video signal via DisplayPort encoded in a data signal over USB. So it's not a pure DisplayPort signal. This is why it's called something. DisplayPort alt mode is the official terminology for outputting DisplayPort over a data signal through USB. So using DisplayPort alt mode. So if the monitor can support the decoding of DisplayPort alt mode via a data channel, you can drive a monitor over your USB 4 port. And this is exactly how I use my Framework desktop with my 4K monitor on Linux, because the Framework desktop, Strix Halo, supports USB 4 natively. So that's one thing that's different from AMD's desktop parts. So if we're talking like AM5 today, so if we're talking like Ryzen 7000, Ryzen 9000, these CPUs do not contain native USB 4 interfaces, which means the desktop Ryzen CPUs, Zen 4 and Zen 5, require either ASM 4242 or Intel's older JHL 8540 to provide USB 4 interfaces. This is not true when it comes to AMD's mobile processors. So Ryzen AI Max, that's Strix Halo. So this is like Strix Halo, and the paint thing is never big enough. Ryzen AI 300, this is Strix Point. Ryzen, what's the older one? Ryzen 300, Ryzen 200. All these mobile AMD CPUs, including Ryzen like 8000 H series, or Ryzen 7040, I guess 8040 and 7040, both of them, all of these, all the way back to the Ryzen 6000 H series. every single one of these CPUs from AMD, they all have native USB 4. All include native USB 4. So which means you do not need none of these CPUs. All these laptop chips, including Strix Halo, they don't need an ASM 4240. They don't need an Intel JHL. They natively contain USB 4 directly on the CPU's SoC. So just like Intel's mobile CPUs. So it's, you know, that's just some interesting knowledge for those of you who wanted me to do some kind of deep dive using Paint. Well, there's your deep dive using Paint. From a simple question, I want the ProArt because it has DisplayPort input. So yeah, that's cool. I mean, if you have a specific use case for it, then by all means, that makes sense to me. But do keep in mind, though, that a lot of these companies sell the ASM separately. They also sell the JHL separately, although the JHL is harder to find because it was technically replaced by a newer one. So let me go find that one. Asus USB 4 PCIe. We did a whole YouTube video. I have this card. And then the other one, Gigabyte JHL 8540. So that one. ASRock JHL 8540. I have this one as well. And then I have the Asus one. Asus JHL 8540. This is the Thunderbolt EX4. So yeah, we've got videos on the channel showcasing like all of these. So this one right here, Asus USB. This is currently in my Threadripper system. So I have DisplayPort input as well. It's dual, I think it's dual DisplayPort input, if I remember correctly. Yeah, dual DisplayPort input and dual Thunderbolt 4 on my Threadripper via the Asus add-in card. It includes all the cables. So this is how you would do it if you wanted to add it manually. Now keep in mind that you need to make sure, if you want to do this, you need to make sure that your motherboard supports that. The way you do that is you go to the page, you click on support. If this will load, you click on manual and document, you click on compatibility, and you click on the compatibility list, and it'll open it up here as a PDF file. And you can see these are the motherboards that currently are compatible, meaning their BIOS will support this USB 4 ASM 4242 add-in card. You need a PCIe X4 slot, and these are all the motherboards that support it.
Getting the MSI Mag X870E Tomahawk Max Wi-Fi PC for my second SteamOS build. Thoughts on the board? I like it cause it's white and BTF for a clean build.
BTF, so I assume you have a case that supports BTF. I currently don't think I have a case that does BTF, so I've never actually tried to do a build like that before. We can take a look at the motherboard. Yeah, we'll take a look at the motherboard here in a second. But just so people know, like, this is what you would need to do if you wanted to add it manually. You'd want to check the compatibility. Same thing for the ASRock. ASRock's got the older JHL. I think these guys also have the USB 4 card. I haven't actually looked into that. I'm just showing you the ones that I actually own. Like, I have this card. I have the Asus Thunderbolt card, the Asus USB 4 card, the Gigabyte Thunderbolt 4 card. See, it even says JHL 8540. So I've used all of them. But yeah, I can tell you it definitely works. You just got to make sure that it's compatible with your motherboard. Anyway, so let's look at that motherboard now. X870E Tomahawk Max. Okay. So the Max Wi-Fi, you said Wi-Fi, is PZ a different one than this? Oh, you said it's, okay, hold on. Let me just duplicate this one then. MSI Mag X870E Tomahawk Max Wi-Fi PZ. Yeah, it's a different one. It's this one. Yeah, it's the okay. I remember. I thought it was like it's either a silver or a white one. Okay, because yeah, you said it's white and has BTF. Okay, I think this was in the tier list video, wasn't it? Last year, the updated one, or no? Did we? No, there wasn't one last year. There was one in 2024. No, there was one last year. Yeah, there was the 2025 edition. I don't remember if this one was in there because I think this one was announced, but I don't think you could actually buy it at the time. So let's take a look at this. Okay. So it says here, it supports, they claim you can do 1 DPC, one single rank, 1 DPC at 8,400 mega transfers plus. So that basically, for those that don't know what this means 2 sticks, maximum 48 gigs of RAM, no more than 48 gigs total. That's 2 24 gigs, or 2 16 gigs, or 2 8 gigs. This can do up to 8,400 transfers if the memory supports it. 1 DPC 2R max up to 6,400. This means 2 sticks. Total is going to either be 64 gigs of RAM, or 96 gigs of RAM, or 128 gigs of RAM. If you happen to have, somehow, magically, have 2 64 gig DIMMs. All right, 2 DPC single rank up to 6,400. This is currently how I run like almost all of my PCs except for like one of them. So this means when I see 2 DPC, I immediately know that means 4 sticks of RAM. And on top of that, single rank, that means 16 gig DIMM or 24 gig DIMM. So that means if we are looking for the maximum, that means the maximum capacity with this 6,400 megatransfers would be 96 gigabytes of RAM, which would mean 4 times 24 gigabyte sticks, or a maximum of 64 gigabytes of RAM if you're doing 4 16 gig DIMMs. So that's 64. Now, here's the thing where it gets kind of crazy, though. This is where I kind of question MSI on this last one. This one, they're claiming that you can do 4 sticks of dual rank thick RAM at up to 60. This literally means 128 gigs or 192 gigs or 256 gigs of RAM at a whopping 6,400. I would like MSI to prove to me that that is actually possible. Because from my own internal testing, and we've got the YouTube videos to prove this, the most that I could possibly do was 192 gigs on the Godlike at 6,000. So I don't know about that 6,400. This one raises eyebrows. That one, I'm not so sure I trust what they're saying here. You're going to have to look at the QVL list to truly see if this is actually real. So I question that one. Supports AMD, plan of reference speed, and JEDEC speed. Supports memory overclocking and AMD Expo. That means it also supports unofficially, but it also supports, well, not unofficially, it also supports Intel XMP if you want to put XMP RAM. There's no problem doing that. Supports dual channel mode, obviously. All of this is dual channel. Supports non-ECC. Okay, so it does not support ECC RAM. So that's one thing to keep in mind. You cannot run ECC error-corrected, like full ECC UDIMM on this motherboard. It's not supported. Only the regular UDIMM. UDIMM is this one, unbuffered. There's no registered. Supports CUDIMM or QDIMM, that's the clock driver, in bypass mode only, it says. So that basically means that you can install, if you have CKD, if you have QDIMM, you can install it. It will work. You're just not going to use the clock read driver. It's just going to run without that doing anything. But you can run with it for future proofing if you want to. If you already have it. I highly don't recommend buying QDIMMs now of all times. Like, this would be the worst time to try to buy QDIMM. We'll look at pricing in a little bit. Okay, so the DIMM slots on this motherboard have, I like how they tell you, the DIMM slots on this motherboard have double-sided latches. So that basically means that you've got the clips on the top and the bottom on both sides of the DIMM slot, not on one. Because you know how some motherboards, they only put the latch on the top, the bottom one doesn't have the latch. So they're telling you that they have double-sided latches, so you know. Some people don't like the motherboards that don't have the latch on one end because it kind of confuses them. Like, how do they know they put the memory in correctly? I mean, you'll hear like a click, even though you just don't have the latch to show it. Memory compatibility and supported speeds very different. Okay, we already know this. All right, so let's see. We got an HDMI 2.1. You can do 8K 60 hertz on that HDMI off of integrated graphics. 2 USB-C that support DisplayPort alt mode. That's exactly what we talked about earlier. So when we were showing this is DisplayPort alt mode. This orange line represents DisplayPort alt mode off of a USB going into a monitor. There is an older technology called DisplayLink. That is not what this is, just so you know. Okay, USB 4. Okay, this is referring to the USB 4 ports. They support DisplayPort 1.4 with HBR3 over the USB Type-C interface. Maximum resolution 4K 120 Hz. That's available only on processors featuring integrated graphics. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, let's see. You've got a PCIe Gen 5 X16 directly connected to the CPU. The second PCIe is a 3.0 X1 from the chipset. The third one is an X4 from the chipset. So that tells me that automatically this motherboard would be really good for a living room PC because you're not going to be doing dual GPUs on a living room PC. Like, you're not going to be running AI models on this. Well, I mean, you could. I'm not saying you can't, but I'm saying this motherboard does not have the ability to run dual graphics cards at PCIe Gen 5 X8 is what I'm saying, just from this layout. And then it says that, okay, this is this, this is this, this is this. Okay, so it depends, but obviously you're going to be using a Ryzen 9000, I would assume, or maybe you're using your older 7000. So you're still getting the full Gen 5 16 on that top slot. Realtek codec. So that's pretty standard for MSI. Okay, so 4 NVMEs. 2 of them are PCIe Gen 5 X4, which is quite interesting. That's very interesting. So how okay, yeah, they're doing some stuff here. They're doing the thing. They're doing the thing, man. They're doing the thing that MSI did that was very it worked out real well for MSI back in 2024, that now literally every other motherboard manufacturer copy pasted MSI's homework, including ASUS. Even ASUS copied MSI's homework. If you go look at like the Glacial motherboard from ASUS on the Extreme. So it tells you right here, this is MSI's homework. This is their science project, and it was very successful. So they're able to offer dual Gen 5 SSDs by basically wiring the second one to the 4-lane interface where the ASM 4242 is soldered. So think about that. It's telling you that because M.2_2 connects to the CPU keyword up to PCIe 5.0 X4. And right here it says the second M.2 will be oh wait, hold on. That's if you're using the APUs, if you're using Hawk Point, you're not going to be able to use that M.2. But anyway, that's not what I meant to say. USB 40 gig Type C, aka ASM 4242 chipset on the back, and the second M.2 share PCIe 5.0 X4 bandwidth. Both run at PCIe. This is the default behavior. Both run at 2 lanes of Gen 5 when a device is installed in the second M.2 slot. This is the default behavior. It'll automatically share the lanes. This is good. This is exactly how I run the Godlike that we're streaming on right now. You can switch M.2_2 to PCI. You can go in the BIOS. You can force all bandwidth to your second Gen 5 SSD, but this will disable the USB 40 gigabit Type C on the back. So it depends on what you need. If you're not going to use those super duper 40 gigabit USB-C ports on the back, those USB 4, those Thunderbolt 4, those Thunderbolt 3, whatever you want to call it, it's all the same thing at the end of the day. You will disable those if you truly care about that Gen 5 4-lane bandwidth, 14,000, whatever the maximum read speed is on a Gen 5 SSD, assuming you even have the Gen 5 SSD for that. But if you care about that, the speed of the Gen 5, you can turn off the USB 4. Personally, I prefer the USB 4. So I'll tell you my secret trick. I mean, I did a YouTube video on this subject last year. If you look up my video on the Samsung Evo, the Evo 990, that is the perfect SSD for this M.2 slot. Because here, let's draw this out actually. Yeah, let's draw this out. So the way this works is you have the CPU, you have your PCIe Gen 5 bus. So you got PCIe 5.0, X24 lanes. This is your AM5. So here we have 16 lanes go to the GPU. Then we have 4 lanes for M.2. What is it? M2_1. M2_1. Then we have something called PLX switch. PLX switch for the Phi. And what happens? You have M2_2. And what goes over here? What's next to it? Something that I was not expecting to be a theme on this stream. There's another chip over here. There's a chip. What's that chip? ASM 4242 goes right there. I don't know where to put this. This is too big. Well, you guys know what it is. The ASM 4242. And what comes out of this thing? Dual 40 gigabit USB 4. Dual 40 gigabit USB 4. Now, here's another thing that we're going to draw. We're going to draw a line here from the CPU. Let's just say this is the integrated graphics. This region on the CPU is the iGPU. iGPU in blue. On the Ryzen CPU, you have integrated graphics. There is a physical connection from the integrated graphics into the ASM to provide DisplayPort output over DisplayPort alt mode so you can drive an external monitor through USB 4 using your integrated graphics. So that's one thing that you can do with this motherboard. They said that in the website. We read through that earlier. So the default behavior is, let's say you have nothing here. This is empty. If this is empty, the switch is like, I'm going to give all the lanes, I'm going to give all these 4 lanes, Gen 5 lanes, all the bandwidth will go to the USB 4. But let's say you install an SSD in here. Now it'll be like, hey, there's a load detected here. I'm going to give 2 lanes to this guy and 2 lanes to the USB 4. This is the default behavior. The godlike that I'm using right now literally is set up like this. We have in here, hold on, let me open Task Manager. What do we even have? What do I even got on this thing? All right, this is the computer that we're streaming on right now. MSI X870E Godlike. AMD Ryzen 9 9950X3D. 16 core, 32 thread, 96 gigabytes, 4 sticks, running at 6400 megatransfers. But what I'm looking for is the drives. So the first drive is a 2 terabyte Windows drive from Micro Center. This is the boot drive. This is the drive in M.2_1. So that would mean, just move this over here. So that would mean on this computer, this is my C drive. This is the, we'll just say inland, I don't remember the name of it. It's like inland premium or whatever. I don't know. Some Micro Center budget drive is in my Gen 5 slot running at Gen 3 speeds. Yeah. Okay, and then on the second one, no, yes. Okay, this is the drive. So my second SSD in the M.2_2, I have a 990 Evo Plus 4 terabyte. This is running at Gen 5 X2. So I'm actually getting the full potential. This is the thing. I'm not leaving any performance on the table. I am maxing out the Gen 5 X2 Samsung 990 Evo while also connecting to the USB 4. Because on USB 4, what do I have connected here? What do I have connected here? We have something called Live Gamer Bolt. Live Gamer Bolt. This is a 4K 60 external HDR capture card that allows me to connect to Xbox Series X or PS5 Pro or 360 or PS3, or you get the point. Oh, this is not supposed to be here anymore. So I have my console fused with the PC over USB 4. Yeah, Switch 2 can go in there. That's exactly how we live streamed Xenoblade Chronicles 2 last weekend. So there you go. So this motherboard that you're thinking of getting can do the exact same thing. It can accomplish the exact same results that the Godlike can do for much less money. So no, it's good. But this is the reason why USB 4 is so critical for someone like me, because I want the consoles fused with my computer. So it's no different from me firing up Steam. I just fire up the PlayStation, I'm just right there on the computer playing the game from USB 4. This is one example of a real-world use case of how USB 4 is very, very important. Why is USB 4 important? USB 4 has the lowest latency for capture cards. Lowest latency. There is never any audio syncing problem. There is never any, there's no delay. There's no input lag. Zero input lag. Zero audio syncing or audio delay problems. When I used to try USB-C capture card, any external capture card, they would always have issues eventually with audio syncing, especially if you're trying to push high resolution and high frame rate. But USB 4 literally has 40 gigabit per second bandwidth. This is significantly higher bandwidth than your typical 10 gig USB-C or 20 gig USB-C. Yeah, it's great for content creators. So it's incredibly important for content creators. This is how anyone on Twitch who streams Switch 2 or, PlayStation or whatever, anyone who's streaming console games on like twitch.tv or YouTube, like how I'm doing, we're all using USB 4. This is the best way to do console streaming. This is like the pro tip. This is the secret technique. Using USB 4. This is why I told you guys in 2020, I told you guys 2 years ago, 2024, when we were talking about like Zen 5, I would never consider a motherboard, like a brand new motherboard in 2024 that does not have USB 4. USB 4 is a must-have feature on a modern motherboard. So I would never turn that off for 2 more lanes of like Gen 5 bandwidth. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's the reason why like this is the optimal play, is get an SSD that can do 4 lanes Gen 4, which is forward compatible with 2 lanes Gen 5, like the Evo Plus. That's why Evo Plus is like one of my favorite SSDs, and I've got like 3 of these in 3 different computers, because it allows me to capitalize on maxing out the bandwidth while also allowing me to run USB 4. This is the secret feature. This is like the thing that MSI had in the bag 2 years ago that no one else offered.
The board is also only $280. Getting it ASAP.
Yeah, it's a good board just by looking at the layout. We didn't even bother. Let's look at the rest of it, actually. Let me finish. I got too sidetracked on the whole USB 4 and the value behind that people don't really think about. So USB 4. So that's really good that you can run Gen 5 X2 with the USB 4 enabled. But the funny thing is, like, now all the other motherboard manufacturers basically copied MSI. So it supports, it's got all that stuff. And then, it's got a bunch of USB. MSI has a ton of USB. Wi-Fi 7, let's take a look. So this one, you got 320 megahertz Wi-Fi 7. So you got the really good Wi-Fi, even though it's a desktop. So personally, when I was thinking about this, Wi-Fi 7 on a desktop is not super important compared to when I say Wi-Fi 7, I mean like 320 megahertz full bandwidth Wi-Fi 7 versus the 160 megahertz half bandwidth Wi-Fi 7 that we were seeing on some motherboards when we looked at all these motherboards 2 years ago. But it's nice that they're offering that. You know, so you're getting the full Wi-Fi 7 experience, but let's be honest here. How many enthusiasts are going to build a custom desktop with a motherboard and are going to actually use Wi-Fi with it instead of an actual Ethernet cable? I mean, come on now, really? Like, are you really going to use the Wi-Fi 7? So maybe temporarily or something, but, you know, it's nice that it has it, though. Okay, so yeah, there's the dual USB 4, and then you got a USB-C 10 gig, you got a USB 10 gig, and then some old school blue USB 5 gig, and then you get two 10 gig type A, one type C 10 gig, 240 gigs with PCIe tunneling off of ASM 4242, and then you got these, and you got a 5 gig LAN. That's good that it has a 5 gig LAN. That's pretty standard now, I would say, with most modern motherboards. And you got all the analog audio, and then you get your SPDIF if you do optical audio for 5.1 surround. So that's a good board. And you said it's like 280, so yeah, that's good, man. It's got the clean look, BTF. Yeah, it looks good to me. Let's look at this. Postcode debug. Button. It's not going to scratch the GPU like the Asus ones were doing. So that's good. Yeah, that's good. It looks good to me. It hits all the right boxes. It doesn't take away lanes from the graphics card. It does share lanes with the USB 4, which is totally fine for the reasons that we've explained. So that's acceptable. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, no problem. 2 terabyte 990 Evo Plus. Yeah, that's the same as me. I got one in this computer. I've got one in my Asus computer. And where is the third one? I know I have a third one. It might be in my laptop. No, where is the third one? Threadripper? I don't think it's in Threadripper. I don't know what my third one is. Oh, you know what's in my Intel computer? It's in this guy. It's in this dude. Intel Arrow Lake Z890. This is my Intel computer. You know, I was thinking maybe I should use the Intel computer as my streaming computer for a while. Just to, like, use it outside of random, like, virtual machine stuff. But I don't know. I'd have to change a lot of my setup if I were to do that. What do you guys think? Should I swap the Godlike with the AMD X3D for the Intel Arrow Lake? And just run Tech Thursdays off of the Intel Arrow Lake for a while? For a while, we were doing Tech Thursdays on my Strix Halo mini PC. Keep the Godlike. I feel like it's just a lot of work to do that, to change the whole thing. Sometimes I just, you know, as an enthusiast, sometimes you feel like just changing things just for the sake of messing with the hardware. That sounds so bad to say that, but anyone who likes to build computers, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You heard all MSI. That's not true. I don't have that problem. The only problem that I had with my MSI Godlike motherboard was last year. It had the infamous dynamic dashboard problem, and I had to RMA the panel, the LED display or the LCD display on the motherboard. I had to RMA it to MSI, and they shipped me a new one. So, what would you then use the Godlike? I was thinking I could use the Godlike as like a motherboard on a test bench. But that's a really, really expensive motherboard to stick on a test bench. You know what I'm saying? I would be afraid of scratching the LCDs, like dropping something like a screw or something on the glass and like scratching. It's not glass. It's like the panel. You know what I'm saying? I'm afraid that I'll scratch it. Where is that thing? Yeah, this thing. This thing went bad on me. You know, I did that whole video on how to temporarily fix it, but it would eventually mess up again due to some kind of flaw in their design. So I RMA'd this thing, and I only had to ship them the panel. Like, I didn't have to send the entire motherboard. You'd love that. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I don't know, because right now, see, the thing is, right now, I don't have a. You guys remember when I would occasionally do, uh, I would do some live streams where we would look at memory training and testing different memory configurations. Ever since I built my home NAS using leftover computer parts, including that motherboard, I don't actually have a motherboard laying around for the test bench anymore. That's actually a modern motherboard. Now I could go dig out some old AM4 motherboard or some old Intel motherboard from like 10 years ago. Yeah, I could use one of those, but who wants to see one of those? You know what I'm saying? So I kind of could use the motherboard as a test bench computer, because I currently don't have one. You could, well, no, because my Nova is the living room PC. If I take that out, then I don't have the living room computer. So I'll tell you right now. So the Nova. Here, maybe I'll just list them down so I can brainstorm this with you guys. So actually the game, it's what do you call it? The family room, the living room, the game room. My game room PC has X870E ASRock Nova with that's the motherboard. The CPU is the Ryzen 7 9800 X3D. Yeah, I paired up the Nova with the 9800 X3D just because, to prove a point. So that's, if I do what you're saying, now I don't have a game room PC anymore. So, and this is also used with the racing simulator. Like the racing wheel, you know, Forza, the whole Forza Horizon 6 computer, that thing, that's basically the Nova computer right now. So if I do that, then I don't have this anymore, so I kind of don't want to do that. You still have that. You still have the high-end motherboard in a box. Which one is that? Is that the Tai Chi, or is that the Carbon? The MSI Carbon. Which one's in the box? This is your current PC. Your current PC is basically my game room PC. Yeah, this is the game room PC. Can't you just unplug them both and swap PCs? Both. Oh, you have both of them in the boxes. Oh, wow. Oh, man. See, right now, I'm kind of just holding out for the next generation of motherboards. So, because here's what my plan is. This is my master plan, okay? I'm revealing my master plan. Sounds so dumb. Okay, my master plan, because you guys know how we're getting, like, at some point, we're going to get, like, Zen 6, you know, like Zen 6 and Intel's Nova Lake. So I was thinking, if and when those show up, I would replace one, like, either this computer or that other computer that you guys see me stream on the weekend with for, like, games and stuff. I would replace one of those two, either this computer or the other computer, with whatever the new platform is. Like, for example, Intel. Let's just use Intel. Nova Lake Z990. Z990. Nova Lake. LGA 1954. Literally, the statement LGA 1954 implies new motherboard required. Meaning, if you want Nova Lake, you will buy a brand new motherboard. No way around it. So I was thinking, well, if I get Nova Lake, I can basically take one of my existing computers and turn that into a test bench computer. Like an AM5. It would be an AM5 computer because it's like I've got like 3 AM5 computers. Nova Lake would replace one of them. Then I would have the leftover AM5 board would become the test bench motherboard. And right now, it's kind of leaning toward Asus as being the one that I turn into my test bench motherboard, because Asus has stuff like Nitro Path, and even though it scratches up the GPU, it's easy to pull out the graphics card on the Asus board, although it kind of ruins your PCB on your graphics card after a while, but we're not going to go there. I was thinking of that one, maybe. It's either that one or the Nova. I could use the Nova. The Nova doesn't have the external clock generator, though. That's why I'm most likely going to leave the Nova in the game room, like, forever. For, like, a very, very long time. So, only very few Z690 boards have SLI keys. And they're very rare, and they're extremely expensive. Not all Z690 boards have SLI keys. So that's a whole thing that we did a whole deep dive on like 2 months ago. But yeah, this would probably replace one of those, and then that would allow me to take one of the AM5 boards, and then that would become a test bench computer. That's my master plan. You know, that's probably same thing. Like so here's the other thing too. Like if with AM5, I don't have to buy another AMD motherboard. I don't really want to buy another AMD motherboard, to be honest, since I've got like 3. So I don't know. Like if Zen 6 comes out, like Zen 6 with X, what would that even be? 970E or whatever. Like this, assuming it's AM5, the new motherboard would natively support the CU-DIMM. So it's like if I want to test the full functionality of CU-DIMM, unless BIOS updates can allow CU-DIMM to work on the older AMD motherboards, then that would be cool if that actually could happen. But if CU-DIMM requires the new motherboard to test it, I would have to get another motherboard, and then I would be like, okay, well, it's either one, right? You either take Nova Lake, replace one of the AM5s with it, or you take the new X970E and you replace one of the X870Es with that. You know, that's the alternative. But right now, it's like I don't want to buy another AMD motherboard if I don't have to. So, I mean, that's the whole point of AM5 is the upgradability of it. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the plan for now going forward. But who knows? I mean, if these things are so expensive, I could potentially end up not upgrading at all. That's the other thing too. If Nova Lake, like for example, I'll give you guys an example. Let's just use Nova Lake. Like, let's just use both of them. Maximus Z990. If this thing is like $1,400, I don't know if I'll actually question whether I actually upgrade this time around. It depends on how much the motherboard is. Like, I will spend up to... I'll tell you what I won't do. I will not buy another $1,200. I mean, I paid $1,100. It was $1,099 on Newegg. So I will not pay $1,100 on a motherboard again. Like, the Godlike was like a one-time thing. I will not do that again. So I will pay up to $700 for a Maximus or a Crosshair. They're basically the same thing. Crosshair X970E. I will pay up to $700 for either of these motherboards. But what I will not do is I will not spend $1,000 or $1,100 or $1,200, or you get the picture. I'm not going to do that if these motherboards are over $1,000. I will not buy it. I will not do that. I will not do that again. No, that's not happening. So that's the reason why I opened up Tech Thursdays. The first discussion of this live stream was the motherboard pricing. Because when I saw that, and let's go back to this article. When I saw this, I immediately was thinking, well, if the next generation motherboards are 20%, 30%, 50% more expensive than the current ones, I'm probably going to skip them altogether. Like, I definitely won't. What I can say for a fact is I definitely will not buy an AM5 motherboard if the motherboards are like $1,000. The Intel one, you don't really have a choice. So I don't know. Like, I've gotten burned buying a low end Intel motherboard in the past, like my Z690 gigabyte Gaming X DDR4. So this is my Z690 Gaming X this is my Alder Lake 12th gen Intel motherboard. I do not like this motherboard. No postcode debug. This is the first motherboard that I ever purchased that did not have a postcode debug. So, yeah. So I was never a fan of this motherboard. Gigabyte makes good motherboards, but this was definitely not one of them. And the reason why I bought it, obviously, because I was not going to pay $800 for DDR5 back in 2021 with the launch of 12th gen Intel. So I didn't realize that not all motherboards have postcode debugs. And at the time, there were no DDR4 motherboards at launch that had postcode debugs. So there was no choice. So I ended up getting this thing. I remember Endwalker randomly crashing on me because of the stupid E-cores with the early BIOSes, and then I eventually went into the BIOS and turned off the E-cores on the 12700K, and that fixed the problem. I just remember having a lot of stupid problems with this platform at launch in like fall 2021. It's just the fact that I remember it just is testament enough to how many headaches this platform gave me. So anyway, that's why, and that the comment earlier about SLI, yeah, this motherboard, guess what? This is a Z690 motherboard, and this motherboard does not have an SLI key. So yeah, no, you can't do SLI on this motherboard. And this is a Z690 motherboard. So, yeah. Yeah, that's 12th gen. That's 12th gen. Early days. Obviously, it's better now, but it wasn't really that great when Windows 11 was brand new because it launched right alongside Windows 11 RTM. Fun times. 90-minute login queues because all those WoW refugees came over to 14 right around the same time that all this stuff was launching. I remember it like it was yesterday. Okay, so that's that. I don't even know why we're talking about this. Oh, the point is, I'm not gonna buy another motherboard if the motherboard is so expensive that just doesn't make any sense financially. So if Nova Lake launches with a bunch of what I'm saying is I'm not gonna settle for this just to get Nova Lake. I'm not gonna do that again. I got burned last time with this. Not gonna happen again. So, meaning if the good motherboards are too expensive, I'm not gonna get Nova Lake. At least not during this RAM apocalypse. You know what I'm saying? So that's basically how that's gonna go. Because I'm interested in Nova Lake. I'm truly interested in it, but not if it's if I gotta spend like $3,000 for an upgrade because the motherboard is like $1,200 and the CPU is 900 or whatever. Not happening. You bought the X870 Tomahawk. You recommended on release date. You upgraded the socket bracket and it's been running like a champ. Okay. Oh, you did the you did the socket thing. You changed the you went with Derbauer's thing, the thermal grizzly thing. Yeah, I don't I don't dislike that stuff. It's just I don't believe that it's really necessary. Those those custom frame things that replace the ILM. But I change hardware so often that it's like that would be more of a headache to have to deal with that extra step. Does installing a 360 AIO make it have negative pressure? No. No. The 360 AIO, are you talking about pushing or pulling air? I assume you're talking about push, not pull. In push, you still have positive pressure because the two 200 millimeter fans are way more powerful than the fans on the 360. Yeah, no, you're going to end up with positive pressure. You'll almost always have positive pressure in that case because the two fans on the front are way OP compared to every other fan in that case, including the radiator fans. Because I'm running, I mean, we're using that case right now on this computer, the Godlike. You know, and I can tell you right now, we definitely have positive pressure, even though we have a 360 AIO on the top. I mean, you can do that if you want. I don't think it's necessary, but you can do whatever you think you want to do for modding or like, you know, changing the air filter. I, it depends on your environment. My room doesn't collect dust that easily because the room that I have, even though there's a carpeted floor, it doesn't really. I mean, let's take a look at it. I'll just pop the filter right off. Here it is. This is the ProArt filter right here. The last time I cleaned this was probably in March or April. There's some dust on there. You can kind of see the color difference, but it's not that bad. And this is just stock. Here's the actual filter. Okay, now I can see there is some dust on it. You can yeah, you can see the dust on there. Okay, so there is a bit of dust on there. It's not too bad. It's still not too bad though. Yeah, it really depends on your environment. Yeah, I use a vacuum. I do the exact same too. I don't use the compressed air. I know a lot of people use compressed air. Compressed air only moves the dust off of that surface. All compressed air does is it transfers the dust to some other location in the room. Doesn't actually get rid of the dust. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I definitely use a vacuum. I probably have to do that this weekend though. It's probably about time for me to vacuum the filter again. What else was I going to talk about though? I had a list of things. We spent so much time talking about motherboards, which I think is good because I think that's what people like to talk about on this channel or when they listen to this channel. There was one of these articles that oh yeah, this is the one. MSI. Is it just this one? MSI to raise graphics card prices by over 20% following Asus and Gigabyte hikes as Nvidia and AMD partners face persistent DRAM shortages. So I'm actually surprised it's taken this long for something like this to show up because graphics card prices, I was thinking that graphics card prices were going to become really, really expensive, you know, like crypto era expensive because of the VRAM on them. But surprisingly, that has not happened. But it's weird because you would think that it would happen, but it hasn't actually happened because for some reason, I guess it's because the demand for AI is not it doesn't involve consumer mainstream graphics cards, even though those graphics cards require VRAM. But now it's starting to happen. So MSI is raising the prices by over 20% following Asus and Gigabyte. I did not know that Asus and Gigabyte already did this, as they face persistent DRAM shortages. So here it is, guys. It's beginning. NVIDIA and AMD AIBs continue to raise graphics card prices in China. In China, due to ongoing shortages, the US and EU markets aren't safe for long. So it's going to start happening. It says here, domestic Chinese consumers were shocked at the extent of these price hikes, and more recently, AIBs officially announced further price bumps for the month of August. Asus and Gigabyte are among the first graphics card manufacturers to announce. We were talking about last week, or maybe it was the week before, I don't know if it was the CEO or the finance guy from AData talking about how nothing is going to start changing until 2030 at the earliest. So, I don't know, man. Like, I kind of think we're just going to have to hold on to our existing computer hardware for the next 4 years. It's starting to feel like that. I'll say one thing. If we have to hold on to the same computer hardware for the next 4 years, and I upgraded like 2 years ago, that means my computer will be like 6 years old. Except for like a few parts that here and there that were changed over the last 2 years. But on average, my computer will be like 4 years old. That means 4 to 6 years old. That means software developers better utilize AI to improve their efficiency, memory utilization, resource utilization, power efficient, whatever you want to call it, software optimization. Software developers better get on it and fix a lot of this software, make it run better on lower end hardware or more moderate hardware so that people don't have to upgrade. Because the thing that I'm afraid of is if I'm stuck with the same computer for the next half a decade almost, I don't want to see the hardware become weaker and weaker and weaker due to developers making their games and applications require more memory, more storage, more cores, more everything. Spaghetti code your game so that you can run an RTX 5090 and get 40 frames per second without like, I don't want to see any of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I'm afraid of. This is why people upgrade their computers. But if you take away the ability to upgrade your computer, now your computer effectively becomes like a gaming console because you're stuck with it for like half a decade or more, which is kind of like gaming consoles because gaming consoles have that 7-year lifespan. So, so it's like, come on, no more spaghetti code, no more things launching where the game is completely broken and it needs like 3 more months to fix it and it runs like garbage even on the highest end hardware. Like, no more of this. No more of this spaghetti code nonsense. Like, fix that. Use AI. Do something. Vibe code it into oblivion. Fix it for real. If you're going to take away my ability to upgrade my computer because of your dumb AI, whatever, then you better use that AI to make those games more efficient. At the very least, make it some kind of reasonable trade here. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, what is this? Based on the information, all models from RTX 50 series to 30 series, pandemic 30 series 2020 will be affected. MSI doesn't officially list the 50. What is this 30 series? What? Hasn't that been EOL for like the last 2 years? Officially lists the 5090D V2 24GB, but the 5080 will see up to 2100 RMB jump. That's a $300 plus increase, by the way. That's like a $330 increase. The RTX 50, oh my goodness, that means 5080 becomes $1,900 or somewhere around there in China. In the US, it's gonna mean it's like $1,600. The RTX 5070 Ti will see a jump of up to 1350 RMB. So it's like $200. So that means this thing becomes like $1,200 or somewhere around there. The RTX 5060 Ti 8GB and 5060 will see a $100 bump, while the 5050 trash will jump up to $80. Okay, Asus has something to say. The Asus graphics card factory implemented the latest. Here, there's that weird word again, director. Like, why do they say director price? What is that? Director of what? Does that mean if I'm a director, I have to pay a special price because I'm like, what does this mean? The latest director price adjustment policy, which raised prices across all models, and the increase was also quite high, according to the increase of approximately 20% by they that shall not be named. The director price adjust policy implemented in August compared to July was disclosed in detail as follows. And then there's some, okay. Okay, so the RTX 5090 DV2, that's a 24 gig 5090, will go up by, this is roughly $650 to $700. The Asus one. The Gigabyte one is going up about $600. The 5080 slash 5070 Ti, they're kind of the same thing. They're going up around, like, depending on, okay, the MSI one is going up the most. Yeah, the MSI one's going up the most. About $280 increase. The Asus one is going up about $240 increase. The Gigabyte one is going up about $210 increase. So basically everything is becoming more expensive. More expensive. What about, okay, so the AMD cards. The AMD card, the 9070 XT Asus is going up $170. The 9060 XT 8GB is about $80, $90. The China edition 7650 is going up about $50. AMD series, every card from Gigabyte that's an AMD Radeon going up about $50. So basically, it's about time. All I'm saying is, I don't want this to happen, but it's about time this is happening, because everything else has been becoming more expensive, and somehow graphics cards kind of, I mean, they went up a little bit at the start of the year, but we haven't really seen graphics card pricing run away. Like, it hasn't really increased at the same rate that other electronics have. So, again, I can't say I'm surprised by this, but they're saying that, to make matters worse, research analysts have already warned of a 50% price bump in DRAM in Q3, followed by another 40% bump in Q4 of this year. Jeffries warns memory prices will surge 50% from July through September, and another 40% when Nova Lake launches, with no relief until 2028. Oh my goodness, if you don't already have DDR5, this is basically the beginning of the end. That's like, it's like, here is Hold on. All of a sudden, I feel like drawing this. It's like, here's the, hold on. 2021, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, next year. It's like DDR5 started out like this. It started out like this. The price of DDR5 went like this. I almost wanted to draw a straight line. DDR5, this is DDR5 pricing. DDR5 pricing over the last 5 years. It started out expensive. This is the reason why when I got 12th gen Intel, I didn't buy DDR5. Because I ain't gonna pay that. Are you serious? Like, who's gonna pay for DDR5 when it's like that type of price? No. But now it's even worse. It's even worse. It's even worse. It's so much worse. I can't. Oh man. It is so bad. It's so bad. Oh my goodness. It's bad. Let me see. Let me see. Where's my magic memory? I gotta see my magic memory. I'm gonna be sad if I can't find my magic memory. Hold on. Where is it? Where's my magic? Where's my magic memory? Hold on. Come on, G-Skill. Don't fail me. Where is it? Oh, I gotta sort 48 gigs. 48. Oh! What? Oh, wait, this is not the exact same SKU, but still. It's like the Looney Tune, the big eyes thing, like, woo. What is this? What happened? What happened to my memory? Oh my goodness. I remember when RK got this kit a couple years back. Dude, this kit was like, what, $260? Like, what is this? Oh my goodness, it's $1,300. $1,300 for a, at most, $300 memory kit. And it's gonna go up 50% more in the next 2 months. And then it's gonna go up 40% more on top of it. Oh man, if you don't have DDR5, you are cooked. If you don't already have DDR5, you're so cooked, man. If you want to get into this hobby, it's basically, you can't even get off the ground. It failed to launch. It's, whoa. Wow. That's the, okay, that's one. Hold up. Let's go find the other one. Let's go find the other one. The other one. They don't even, you can't even filter by it anymore. They don't even offer the 96 gig kit anymore. They don't even offer it. Okay, well, might as well. Oh, what if where's my oh my goodness. This is my Threadripper memory. This is my Threadripper memory. What? I could sell my Threadripper money and make more money than what I spent to build Threadripper? What? What? Oh man, my memory is worth this much money? I still have the original packaging. That's the box that it came in. I did the unboxing video. It's on the channel. This is it. DDR5 RDIMM 6400 Expo CL32. Oh my, whoa, it's worth so much money. Dude, who would have thought RAM was like an investment? This is like buying stocks. This is like buying up real estate. Like, what is going on here? Like, what is this? Whoa. That memory kit that I bought, I paid $1,100 for it. That's insane. I could sell my Threadripper RAM and make more money from selling just the RAM than the entire cost. Because that computer, how much did that computer cost me? Let me think about this. That computer, well, let me see. The CPU, Threadripper was $1,200. The DDR5 128 GB was also like $1,100 when I bought it. And the motherboard was what, 600 or so? So what is that? That's 23 plus 6. So 2,900. Yeah, I would literally make all the money back that I spent to build Threadripper plus like 100x profit if I sold the RAM. That's crazy. This is what I paid in 2023 when I built the Threadripper. Man. Wow. That's crazy. Look at that. I can't believe that. That's approaching half. That's approaching half of 10 grand. That's approaching 5 grand. This is definitely going to go over 5 grand by the end of the year. I could from what we just read, my RAM will be worth $5,000 before the end of the year. Wait and see. Do you want to buy it? Do you want to buy it for like 43? Well, okay, it's going to be secondhand, right? I could sell it for like $4,000 easily. And that's still, you know, like 100x profit right there. Including like the price of all the other components. That's insane, dude. They don't even, like, Micro Center doesn't even have my other memory kit. My 90, they don't even stock the 96 gig kits anymore. You can't even get the 96 gig anymore. Let me see, 48 gig. Oh no, this is the RDIMM. Yeah, they only have that one kit. Why don't they have? Oh well, I don't have it anymore. All right, let's look at Intel. Let's look at Zen 6 RAM. Zen 6 and Nova Lake. Let's prepare for Nova Lake and Zen 6. What type of RAM would I need to get? I would need to get 48 gig CUDIMM, CUDIMM. That means I need that Chrome Corsair Vengeance. So all this silvery, smeary, whatever, sparkly, kira stuff, this is going to be the Nova Lake RAM. It is not looking good right now. 8,400. What's the cheapest one they got? That's not CUDIMM. That's trash. Okay, so this stuff. All right, this is Nova. For those that don't know, this is Nova Lake RAM. Nova Lake RAM starting price is almost $1,000 for 48 gigs. Nova Lake RAM. This is also Zen 6 RAM. Now this one is, I think this is the XMP. So this is the Nova Lake, but you can still use this with Zen 6. This is CKD, Intel XMP, 1.4 volts, CL40 on an 8400. non-ECC. This is the Nova Lake RAM. CUDIMM. I immediately look at it. I see CM. I see chrome color on the Vengeance heat spreader. That immediately, the fact that it's chrome means it is CUDIMM. That's how you know. If it's Corsair and it's got chrome, it's CUDIMM or CUDIMM. If it's G-Skill and it's piano black reflective fingerprint magnet, it's CUDIMM. That's how you know it's that Nova Lake RAM. So this is the Nova Lake stuff, starting at $955. Now, the thing is, for someone like me, I gotta size it correctly. So we're gonna have to do this. We're gonna have to go in here, and we gotta calculate. Nova Lake flagship has 16P cores plus 32E cores plus 4 low power cores. So that's, what is that? That's 48 plus 50. Okay, this is 4 GB per P core. This is 4 times, so we gotta do the math. Is it 4? Yeah, 4. Hold on, is that right? Yeah, 4 times 16. So the equation is 4 times 16 plus 1 times 32 plus 0 times 4. This is the formula for calculating how much RAM is required for Nova Lake flagship. So that means I need to have 96 gigabytes of CUDIMM for launch of Nova Lake. So this is how you prepare for the Nova Lake. So this is how much RAM is required. That means I need to take into account 4 sticks of that kit. So that's $955 times 2. I need to spend $2,000 on RAM if I don't already have the CUDIMM. So this is the minimum spend on RAM as of today's pricing for someone who wants Nova Lake at launch. And when I say Nova Lake, I'm talking big, fat, flagship Nova Lake. If you want the big one, be ready to spend $2,000 minimum on the RAM, because you're going to need 96 gigabytes recommended spec for the big fat Nova Lake. Otherwise, you will have all kinds of issues on Windows with the scheduler bouncing all the stuff in and out of memory, moving it around unnecessarily because you don't have proper RAM per core ratio. This is a thing. Anyone with productivity apps knows this. Gaming also benefits from this, but to a lesser extent. But anyway, this is how to build this is how to size the system. So let's do the AMD one. We're running out of space. I have to delete some of this stuff. Delete this. Well, okay, actually, delete the motherboards. So the AMD one basically will turn into a similar thing, as far as I know. Is basically going to be, so let's do Zen 6 X3D flagship, the highest end Zen 6 X3D. This is going to be the Ryzen 9. This is going to be this is 24 cores, 48 threads. So this is going to be like 12 cores per CCD. So you're going to get 24 cores. This is the one. This is the only one that I'm interested in. So this one, let's do the math. So again, we have to calculate. These are all P cores. For every P core you have, you must dedicate 4 gigabytes of RAM. So 4 times 24 equals, oh look, 96 gigabytes of CUDIM for launch. That basically means the price of RAM for the highest end Nova Lake and the highest end Zen 6 is $2,000. It's the exact same number. 96 gigabytes is the magic number for future-proof systems. So we have proven that here mathematically. There's a lot of architectural things and software things that are part of that proof, which we've left out of these mathematical steps. But all that is to say that if you want to build a balanced flagship next generation desktop computer, you need 96 gigabytes of CUDIM for either Nova Lake or Zen 6 X3D. I'm not talking about Gorgon and all that. I'm talking about the upcoming desktop processors. We're not talking about mobile processors. Although the exact same math applies to mobile processors. It would just be slightly different depending on the core type. But in this case, it would still be the same thing. So 96 gigs is the magic number. I am so happy right now in a way because I already have 96 gigabytes of RAM. This is why I kept telling people for the past 3-4 years now. Well, not 4 years. That's a stretch. But I've been basically advocating for the last. You go back and look at all my memory videos on my YouTube channel for the past 3 years. I've been saying 96 gigs is where it's at for a future-proof system, and now we have literally mathematically proven that if you want to go to Nova Lake flagship, if you want to go to Zen 6 flagship, 96 gigs is the magic number. We're using Windows 11 and with 96 gigs, Windows is using 25 gigs of system RAM on this MSI Godlike. Do we have to use CUDIM for Zen 6? Okay, that is a great question. The answer to that question is no, you don't have to use CUDIM. So no, you don't have to. And that's why I'm happy, because I already have 96 gigs of DDR5 and it's running at 6400 mega transfers. So I literally can completely skip this step entirely for my upgrade. Like $2,000 on memory, I don't have to deal with that. That ain't my problem anymore. So, I mean, I'm not trying to downplay that, because I know that a bunch of people are going to struggle, or they're going to feel like the itch to upgrade, and then they're going to feel like they can't do it because it's so annoying with the RAM prices and everything, and the motherboards are more expensive. Just everything is more expensive. You know these CPUs are going to be more expensive. Let's be honest. We know that Nova Lake's flagship is not going to be cheap. Intel has already announced price increases on CPUs. AMD is following suit and announcing price increases on CPUs. So these two CPUs, AMD already went there and did it, guys. AMD already charged $900 for this D2 CPU. So they went and did their first Steam, Valve with the console, and now this.
If I really build a third 5090 PC, should I go with 9850X3D or use my old 7950X3D? Gaming only.
If you really build well, if you're gonna do something like put it in a living room or some multimedia, like if it's gonna be in some kind of environment where there's like a bunch of other people, and it's not like a work computer or anything, then you can go with the 9850X 3D. But if you don't, if you, I would say this, since you already have the 7950X 3D, you don't have the 9850X 3D today, right? So just use what you already have. I mean, the 7950X 3D is still really, really good. I mean, it's definitely going to outperform the 9850 in multi-threading because of the extra cores. But if you really want Zen 5, then, I mean, I'm not going to stop you from getting Zen 5 X3D, but from my point of view, if those were my choices for a third PC, I would definitely use the old CPU. I'd make use of the old CPU because it's still really, really good. There's nothing wrong with it. That's what I would do. But if you really want that Zen 5 for the extra performance for gaming, then yeah, you could do that. But I mean, at the end of the day, if it's in a living room, you're probably not going to notice that much of a difference, to be honest. I mean, that's my point of view on it. I mean, you wanted my opinion on it. That's what I would do. If given those choices, I would say use the 7950X 3D for the third computer, since you already have it. Do you think the 9950X 3D2 was too overpriced? Yeah, by like $200. I really think the D2 at $700 would be an acceptable price. But at $900, it just, why? You know, like, I don't know. It's overpriced. It's overpriced, but the problem, here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. AMD. We're really running out of space, aren't we? Let's make some more space. Even though I kind of want to keep some of this here because I don't know if we might revisit it, but I guess we're done with the Thunderbolt discussion. What I'll say on that is, so 9950 X3D2 launches $899. What was the Valve thing? So it's like Steam machine launches at, what was the price? Like $1,200? What was the price of the Steam thing? Can someone tell me what that was again? I forgot what it was. Steam machine price. What was the one with the controller? Because I would never buy it with no controller. $1,100? Wait, what? Oh, wait, okay. The one that I would actually buy if I was gonna buy one of these was this much. That's the one I would use. So $1,400 for this, and that was like $900. So the problem is so Valve did this because of reasons that they tried to explain. Although I don't know. I mean, Valve is so profitable that to me, I still kind of feel like they say they didn't want to subsidize because they don't try to sell it in large volumes, so they can't get the volume discounting. But I kind of feel like if they really tried, they probably could have gotten some degree of discounting. So I don't know. That doesn't really sit well with me on how they handled that. That's why I don't have a Steam machine, and I'm probably never going to get one. Definitely not at these prices. I would build my own. You know, there's a bunch of people that are actually taking like Framework desktops or Strix Halo mini PCs, and they're basically turning them into Steam machines. So I might actually do that instead. But then there's the D2. The D2 launched at $900. So, like, when companies do this, so the problem is you've got over here, you've got other people looking. You know, you've got someone over here looking. You got someone over here looking. So they have their eyeballs. You know, they're looking. They're looking. They look. I don't know. I didn't mean that to turn to like a Wi-Fi symbol. But anyway, they're looking at this. They see this. They see this. And then they see the headlines. Sold out everywhere. Sold out instantly. Backlogged. Backordered. Sold out. Its price so sky high, and yet it's sold out. So they get these ideas. They're like, man, okay, what is the upper limit that consumers are willing to pay? Because this is an eye-opener. Like, for real. I don't know what the supply was like on this thing. And I'm like, wait a minute. Everyone was complaining about the price, and yet it still sells out instantly. So did Valve make like 4 of these maximum? Or or like what? Does everybody really have the money to pay on this stuff? Or are people going to mass debt to buy this hardware? Like, what's going on? You know, like, I don't understand. So they're like, huh? Like the meme, huh? Huh? Bruh, what? Like that, like what? They see this and they're like, huh? So, what? So it's like, what does that mean? That means, oh, snap, we can charge quite a bit of money for PS6, and we can pull it off. Oh, yeah, we can, Project Helix. Oh, yeah, we can do it. So, because if people are willing to spend like this on the Steam machine of all things, bruh, you getting a PS6, you're gonna be spending $1,200 and you're gonna be happy. That's basically what is happening right now. That is literally what's gonna happen. I can guarantee you this is gonna happen. Like, they're gonna, like, PS6, it's like PS6 digital only, because we know what happened. We're not gonna go there on this stream, but you know about the disc. We talked about that last stream. So digital only, $11.99. $11.99. $11.99. 1 terabyte SSD. 1 terabyte SSD. You know what I'm saying? And it's still gonna sell out. For real, it's still gonna sell out. They'll probably offer some, like, 2 terabyte. They'll probably do like like $14.99 2 TB SSD. They'll probably have some random option, some upper SKU. Maybe they'll sell a Blu-ray drive add-on like they do for the Pro and the Slim digital. So you have the ability to play your physical games. So to appease the masses, for the people who are all up in arms about that. So they'll probably do something like that. That could be a way to make like a ton of money off of like some super high-end console. Just, just throw a disk drive on there, double up the storage, and charge like 1,500 minimum for it, something like that. And the people will probably gobble it up, because if the Steam machine, like, let's be honest, the Steam machine is not exactly state-of-the-art hardware. And that thing still managed to sell out instantly, apparently. So, apparently there's a demand for, like, consoles, Like, who would have thought? So, Microsoft could do whatever they want to do, too. And I don't know. I think Microsoft, though, Sony did not do themselves any favors with the whole, like, physical game situation announcement thing. But Microsoft, I feel, has to do more than Sony to win back the Xbox crowd. At least that's the perception that I have of their situation. I kind of think that most people would agree. So Microsoft has definitely they have a more uphill battle than Sony does. So I don't know what Microsoft's going to do, but Microsoft is going to have supposedly a much higher end console. So who knows what they're going to do. That's why all the people that I've talked to that I've tried to get into PC gaming, they just refuse to do it.
I am almost certain PS6 will be $1,000 plus.
Oh no, it's definitely gonna be over $1,000. 100% it's gonna be over $1,000 at launch. In this current market, with DRAM, what it is right now, yeah, with NAND flash for the built-in storage, at what it is right now, it is definitely gonna be over $1,000. But you know, the reason why I'm talking about this, it's interesting when we somehow went off on this tangent because somebody mentioned, do you think the D2 was overpriced? Yes, it was overpriced. It should have been like $699. It should have been $200 less. It should have been $700, not $900. That's too much money. $700, it makes sense. $800, that raises some eyebrows. $900 is too much money. But here's the thing. If enough people are willing to buy this, even if it's, you know, whatever the percentage of the enthusiasts is that actually would buy this, you know AMD can pull another fast one and charge $900 for the Zen 6 successor to the Zen 5 flagship. And you know Intel can do the exact same thing. Intel can do, I can see how Intel can do this, man. Intel can have an easier time doing this than AMD. Because AMD kind of, this did not really sit super well with enthusiasts, but people were like, man, you know, AMD literally said that this was pointless. And then everyone was like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Stop hiding it. So I'm like, okay, here it is, $900. Oh, look. It's barely better than the other one. So it's like, I told you. So anyway, Intel, however, Intel can be like, hey, check this out. Check this out. Watch this. Well, Intel can be like, hey, man. Wait, hold on. Let me find the Intel thing real quick. Intel can be like, hey. Hold on. Intel Core Ultra 9 285K. Okay, we go to Intel's website. We look in here. There's the recommended customer pricing. $600 for the 285K. So they can be like, hey man, check this out. We can do this. 285K. 285K equals 8P plus 16E equals 24 threads for $600. We'll just say $599. We'll take their price. So the 485K would be, or maybe it's a 385K. I don't know. Maybe they'll do 300. The Panther Lake was 300. So are they really going to do Nova Lake? I mean, they could. I don't know. Lunar Lake was 200 and Arrow Lake was 385K equals 16P plus 32E plus some whatever plus some stuff. Sum equals 52 threads implies, you know what? Ignore this garbage. Just make it 48 for argument's sake for a second. 1199 for the Intel Nova Lake. It's twice the better, guys. It's twice the better. It's twice the better. You're going from 24 threads to 48 threads. You really want your 16P cores? Give me your money. $1,200. Give me your money. That's Intel's strategy. That's Intel's strategy right there. $1,200 for Nova Lake flagship. They can do it. They can do it. And they can be like, okay, it's like, okay, you got Intel over here. You got Intel. That's a strange way to draw a circle. You got Intel inside, and there it's like Intel is like looking down here. It's like, oh, I see. Ooh, AMD sells this guy for $900, but this thing is only a 32 thread. 32 thread for $900 versus 48 thread. So let's do the ratio here. Let's do the ratio. Calculator. So we're doing I want to calculate the dollar. Well, I'll round it up to $900 per thread. So AMD is charging $28.12 per thread. Per thread. $28.12 per thread for their flagship. So Intel can be like, oh, we can now we can quickly throw in the LPE. We can throw in low power, do 52 thread, 52. So 1200 divided by 52. Oh snap! Wait, hold on. Oh man, hold on. That sounds really good, man. Intel, man, you guys, man, Intel, I need to get on your marketing team for real. This looks so good right now. I did not know the pricing was that good. All right, hold on. Let's go back to 48 threads. 1200 divided by 48. Oh my god. Okay, Intel could be like, hey man, check this out. $1,200 divided by 48 threads equals $25 per thread. Oh, better value than AMD. Better value than AMD. We're charging you $3 less per thread than AMD. And this is the freaking Nova Lake. This ain't no Zen 5 from like 2 years ago. This ain't no 2024. You know what I'm saying? So they can be like, hey man, we're the best value. At $1,200, this is competitive from a purely theoretical numbers game. You know what I'm saying? And then guess what? They can take it up a notch even further. They can go ahead and throw in those useless LPE cores and be like, hey, check it out. We can do, across 52 threads, $23.07 per thread. So now we're even cheaper. If you throw in those useless LPE, now on a desktop, yeah, because you totally need LPE on a desktop, yeah, because battery life matters on a desktop. So $23 per thread versus $28 per thread on the AMD flagship. We're talking flagship to flagship. Mano y mano. There you go. So this is what we're talking about. Check it out. Intel is at this price at $1,200 for Nova Lake. It makes sense. It makes sense. So Intel could go big, man. Intel could go big on that value. Now consumers gonna be like, man, $1,200 is a lot of money for a CPU. But that's where marketing. That's where marketing comes in. You know what I'm saying? Like marketing. Marketing. It's a numbers game. You know, ignore performance for a second. Ignore like what you consider an expensive CPU. You got to think about it from a pure dollar per thread. Intel's offering more. More threads for your money. That is a legitimate marketing tactic they can use if Nova Lake launches before Zen 6. If they're first to market with the next generation, they will be competing with AMD's Zen 5, not Zen 6. So it'll be all-out war between Intel's latest and greatest versus AMD's current generation, Zen 5. So they're going to be like, hey, man, we're offering better value. Check it out. $23 per core or per thread versus $28 per thread. That's close enough for government work. So what does that even mean? Does that mean that my guess at the price is correct for Intel? For Nova Lake? I mean, I would hope that I'm close to pricing these correctly. Because to me, that seems like a reasonable $1,200. Now, to a regular person, $1,200 for a CPU looks like a ton of money. As someone who has Threadripper, I can tell you, with this thread count at this price, this is actually a decent price for that CPU. $1,200 for the flagship Nova Lake. To me, like, that's an acceptable price. So the question earlier was like, do you think the D2 is too expensive? Yes, it is. But because it is priced as it is, now Intel can further raise the bar. They can now move the goalpost. AMD moved the goalpost when they brought out the D2 at $900. So now Intel can be like, hey, we can charge $300 more than what AMD is charging for their flagship, and we're still competitive with them in terms of thread per dollar. You know what I'm saying? So they can totally do that. This is a legitimate strategy. From a business and marketing standpoint, this makes a ton of sense. I'm not saying it's a good price, because it's total. Like, who would want to pay $1,200 for a CPU, especially when it's dual channel RAM? That doesn't sound very appealing, but they're giving you a lot of threads. That's the whole argument. AMD might get as much as $500 the first year high volume. Yeah, but you know, we'll see what happens. Nova Lake's gonna be expensive, man. Could you put an air cooler on those new Intel chips like a D15? That's a good question, actually. You could. Well, you know what? You probably can't. Yeah, you probably can't, because I've heard a lot of things from people in industry, and they've been telling me that they can't tell me specifics about the CPU, but what I have been told from multiple people is that if you're going to invest in Nova Lake, you better have a high-end cooling system, and you better have a good, reliable power supply. Those are the only two things that they would tell me. You better have a good cooling setup, and you better have a good power supply. That is what they told me. They couldn't tell me anything about performance or pricing or whatever. But, you know, when I heard, okay, it's going to be 48 thread plus 4 more, like, ghetto threads, so 52 threads, yeah, that sounds like it's going to need liquid cooling. Micro Center's now selling Xeon bundles. Oh, really? Okay, that's cool. It's about time. I was in the market for one of those like 3 years ago and ended up going Threadripper because they were completely missing in action. So Micro Center has Xeon bundles, huh? Where? Oh, okay. Yeah, they do. Xeon $5,000. So well, this is requiring the same RDIMM though, right? This is the same exact memory that is on the Threadripper. So that is very, very expensive. What is the core count on this Xeon thing? Granite Rapids. Granite Rapids is that is basically the Is that Lion Cove? Is that Lion Cove? I bet it's Lion Cove. It's probably Lion Cove, which means it's equivalent to Arrow Lake, except it's the Enterprise. Yeah, it's nice to see this. It's about time, man. Like, these things have been missing in action forever. this looks more like it competes with Threadripper Pro, just by looking at the motherboard. This is more of a Threadripper Pro competitor as opposed to a regular Threadripper. Is this 8-channel? Is this quad channel or 8-channel? It looks like it's 8-channel. But maybe it's 2 DPC on a quad channel. It says Sage Pro 200. Yeah, I don't know actually what this is. Is this Granite Rapids? Is this... Does anybody know? I forgot. It's been a long time since I looked at the Intel HEDT. Is this workstation or is this HEDT is my question. Meaning, is this quad channel? Does anybody know? Is this quad channel or is this 8-channel? If it's 8-channel, it's like Threadripper Pro. If it's quad channel, then it's like regular Threadripper. Yeah, I'm surprised we actually covered a lot of stuff on this stream that I wasn't expecting to talk about, like all this like Xeon stuff now. But anyway, new hardware announcements. All right, so we are 2 hours and 42. Wow, okay, I talked a lot about computer hardware on this stream. Yeah, this is way too much money though. So, let me think about this for a second. Could I potentially just get... How much is the motherboard and how much is the CPU by itself? Forget about the RAM. Oh, 900. Okay, yeah, that's like a Sage. That's the Sage. That's like the AMD one. And then this is... Okay, so this is actually like regular Threadripper. Isn't it? Wait, it supports 4 terabyte of RAM. Yeah, 4 terabyte of RAM. Good luck finding that for a decent price. Is this... I'm just curious to know, is this quad channel or is this like 8-channel? 8-channel. Okay, so this is Threadripper Pro. This is equivalent to Threadripper Pro. So this is workstation. This is not HEDT. It says so on the website. Ah, okay. But it's a lower core count, though, than what you normally would get on a Threadripper Pro. Although I think you can go as far down as like 16 cores on a Threadripper Pro with 8-channel memory. Interesting. Okay. Well, if it wasn't for the RAM, this would be something I would have been considering if this showed up like 2 years ago, but it just took too long to actually show up in any sort of volume in the retail market, so I kind of skipped it. But that's cool. Yeah, I always wanted I always wanted an Intel HEDT computer. This is not HEDT though. This is workstation. But man, I miss the Intel HEDTs. Those were the true enthusiast class. Those were the true enthusiast class CPUs back in the day. Yeah, it's 8-channel. This is equivalent to Threadripper Pro. So this would be more like if we were to look at the AMD, it would be like these black box ones. The one that I have is this one, but man, these are these are high core though. 96 core, 64 core. So that one was an 18 core. So that one's kind of like this one. Yeah, man, the Threadripper Pros are expensive. It's kind of like this. So an Intel 18 core would be kind of like this AMD 16 core. I don't think AMD has an 18 core. They do 16 and then 24 is the next one up, but this is like way more expensive. Yeah, Intel's definitely competitive though in this space because they're offering 18 cores for $1,400. AMD is offering 16 for 15. So Intel's undercutting. They've got more cores, slightly more cores, slightly more threads than AMD for less money. Both of them are offering 8-channel. But I kind of think this one... I don't remember how many lanes the Intel one offers. Like, how many PCIe lanes does this offer? 128. Okay, so it's the same as AMD then. So there, yeah, this is actually competitive with. Yeah, oh wait, it's less. Okay, AMD's got more lanes. AMD's 140. That's probably why the AMD one costs more money by a little bit. But Intel offers more RAM though. AMD, it looks like, according to this, Threadripper Pro has 8 memory channels, maxes out at 2 terabytes of RAM, and has 148 PCIe Gen 5 lanes on a 3-year warranty. Intel is offering 4 terabytes of RAM, same exact memory channel count, but only 128 lanes. So that's interesting. And it's cheaper slightly. So that's actually competitive. That is definitely competitive with Threadripper Pro. But this is like an apples to apples comparison though. You have to compare Threadripper Pro with the Intel Xeon. That's so finally they have this stuff. You can buy X79, yeah, but they're old and they're slow now, man. I miss when give me like a quad channel Intel Xeon with like 96 PCIe lanes or whatever. Like give me the equivalent of the regular AMD Threadripper, something like this. This is my current HEDT. This is my personal high-end desktop. Threadripper, 24P cores, 48 threads. You know, this is what I got. It's like 88 PCIe Gen 5 lanes or whatever. It's like 92. Okay, but it's like 88 or whatever because 4 of them go to that chipset. So I got like 88 PCIe Gen 5 lanes. I'm running triple graphics cards in my desktop. I've got 8 SSDs. You know, it's super duper good. 128 gigs of the real deal RAM. Yeah, I'm running, this is my RAM kit. That's what I'm running right now in my Threadripper. So I could literally sell my memory. Obviously, I won't be able to use Threadripper anymore, but I could sell my memory and make 100% profit on what I paid for the entire Threadripper computer. Okay. So, I think that kind of covers it. On Granite Rapids Nova, this total silicon area at risk production 300. Wait, I made an Elden Ring reference? What was the Elden Ring reference? Well, I legitimately didn't realize I made an Elden Ring reference. What was the Elden Ring reference? Now I have to know. Yeah, the RDIMM stops you. Well, doesn't yeah, the Intel Xeon requires RDIMM too, right? This requires RDIMM, right? Can you run UDIMM on Xeon? I'm pretty sure you can't. I'm pretty sure this requires RDIMM, just like Threadripper. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know. When I had to buy my RDIMMs back in 2023, I wasn't too happy about it either.
Neo 3 DLC coming out this month.
Oh,
Can't wait.
It's really? Oh, it's this month. Oh, okay. So now, yeah. Speaking of Neo 3, so I guess let's shift focus a bit here, unless you guys want to keep talking about. I want to talk about the gaming a little bit. So there was a game that came out this week that I was extremely disappointed in. I don't know. Is there a? Yeah. Okay. So this game, Beasts of Reincarnation. I was going to play this game. I was going to get this game. I ended up not getting this game because the reviews for it were so mixed, and there was just a lot of like negative, like mediocre. It wasn't really negative. It was just like mediocre reviews, to the point where I was like, yeah, this is not good. I'm not getting this game. So I basically skipped it. They also said, so one of the reviewers, okay, there's two things that made me not get this game. One review, I can't remember if it was the IGN review or one of the other reviews. One review mentioned that the game reminded them of echoes of Aincrad. And when I heard Beast of Reincarnation and Aincrad in the exact same sentence, that immediately raised a giant red flag. So I'm like, wait, what? Did you just compare this to Echoes of Aincrad? Oh dear. Oh, now this is not getting this. And then another reviewer mentioned that Game Freak wasn't completely involved in developing this game. Like they were supervising the development of the game, but they themselves weren't actually doing a lot of the development work. The reviewer mentioned that a lot of the actual work on the game was farmed out to a third-party studio. So, and that's another thing that I'm like, when I heard that, I was like, I don't like hearing those things, because was it 2 years ago or was it last year? When did Silent Hill F come out? I think it was last year, wasn't it? Silent Hill F was done by a third-party studio. And I don't know, like Silent Hill F, I thought was I have not finished Silent Hill F. I think it is an okay game for the franchise, but it was not as good, nor was it as interesting as Silent Hill 2 Remake, which was also done by a third-party studio. But the thing is, the original vision of Silent Hill 2 was maintained in that remake. So it's still Silent Hill 2, just with much better graphics. But Silent Hill F being done by a third-party studio for like the whole game, I was like, I don't know. It just kind of like makes it fall from what could have been a 9 to like an 8. You know what I'm saying? And then another good example I can give you, Ninja Gaiden 4. Ninja Gaiden 4 came out last year, and it was also done by a third-party studio. Instead of Team Ninja developing the game in-house, they farmed it out to Platinum Games. And Platinum Games can do really good action combat, but for some reason, there's something about Ninja Gaiden 4 that I felt was missing the essence of what Ninja Gaiden is supposed to be.
I finished the game and it's nothing like Aincrad.
You finished Aincrad or you finished Beast of Reincarnation? Because when that one guy was like, it makes me, it gives off Echoes of Aincrad vibes, I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can play this now because of that. So I don't know. And to be honest, I got too into Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Switch 2 edition recently, that I've been having a ton of fun playing that. As much as I like playing that game is also so frustrating at the same time because of the stupid gacha system that, I don't know. Like, because on Monday, I was thinking, like, do I get this game despite all the negative reviews? Or do I, and stop playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which is a really, really good game? Or do I forget about this game and follow what the reviewers say and don't play it and continue playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Switch 2 edition? So, I don't know. I watched a little bit of other people playing it. Like, I watched Rurikon play a little bit of it. And it just looked kind of samey and slow. Like, I think the reviewers are spot on, though. I watched some people play some of it, for a while. I watched like 10, 15 minutes of gameplay from somebody playing it, and I was thinking, I don't know. I'm probably gonna skip. I'll tell you right now. Like if I got the game, I would have already streamed it yesterday and Tuesday, but because I didn't get the game, no. So I'm trying to become more selective in the games that I get and the games that I feature. So this one, unfortunately, based off everything that I've seen, I'm gonna have to give Beast of Reincarnation a pass. I'm gonna have to just like, you know, I'm gonna try to play more Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And yeah, that's probably the plan for me. Trying to think what else do we have planned here, because that was supposed to be the big game that I was gonna play in August, and now that that's not happening, I mean, it looks like August is gonna be Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Switch 2 edition, at least the first part of the month. Last month was Endless Ragnarok. That was a ton of fun. It was supposed to be Star Fox, and no one wanted me to stream Star Fox for Switch 2. So it's funny because it's like, okay, Karma comes around, and now Switch 2 is going to get a lot of airtime via Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So we'll probably be doing that this weekend. I don't know. The gameplay didn't look that good to me. It looked passable. It looked like a more forgiving Lies of P. Lies of P was so strict on the timing window. This game looks way more forgiving. So in that regard, it's not going to be as frustrating to play as Lies of P was, because Lies of P, on some of those bosses in the middle toward the end of the game, like the puppet, the Puppet King or whatever, and that stupid swamp boss. Oh my goodness. And the Archbishop boss in Lies of P. Those three bosses, I still have PTSD from like the Swamp Monster and the Puppet King, but definitely the Swamp Monster in Lies of P before the nerf. And this game looks like there's no problem with the combat. Like it's way more accessible than Lies of P. But, you know, I don't know. It looks like it's an okay game. It's just, I don't know. Like, a lot of people say negative. It just got a lot of, like, lukewarm to negative reviews, mixed reviews. And you go look at the Steam forums, there's a bunch of people complaining about it. And, yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to have to pass on it. It's not a Souls-like, so not comparable to Lies of P. Yeah, it's not tough like Lies of P. Yeah, it's not that type of game. But looking at the schedule here, so I basically replaced that with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and then when is Onimusha coming out? September 3rd.
I built 7800X3D, 9060 XT 16GB, 16GB kit. RAM was $231. Should I buy another at $249 before prices go crazy?
Probably, because 16 gigs of RAM just doesn't seem like that's enough RAM. Wait, so what is that? Like that's one stick? Is that one stick or is that two 8 gig sticks? I assume it's one stick. You probably want to make sure you have at least 32 gigs of RAM. So you probably want to try to get another of the same exact kit. If it's one stick, you want to buy the exact same stick again. You don't want to mix and match the RAM, if at all possible. Oh, it's 2.8. Oh, it's 2.8? Then, well, if you buy that again, then you're going to max out all your memory slots, and you'll be at 32 gigs of RAM, which I guess that's acceptable in the current market, but to me, that's a lot of money for 8 gig sticks. So, are you sure you couldn't find like a 32 gig? Because 16 gigs, like, is that stuff that ASRock was advertising? What was it, DRAM? Is that DRAM? 16 gig, you got one of these? You said you paid $230 $50. So that would be like buying this Corsair. What was the speed? You didn't say what the speed was. Wait, these are DDR4. Get rid of the DDR4. Why is there DDR4 in here? They only got one for two. Okay, so that sounds about right then. Corsair. So you basically bought Samsung memory or Micron memory. That's what is it? Corsair Vengeance or something? That's probably Micron or Samsung. There's a good chance that that's Samsung memory. If it's CL36, if it's CL36, 36, 36, whatever, that's not SK Hynix. There's a very, very low probability that that's SK Hynix. That's most likely Samsung. If I had to guess, it's Samsung or Micron. Yeah, so it's something like this. I mean, you could buy it again, and then now you're like maxed out at 32 gigs, and you're using all 4 sticks. I mean, that'll work. It'll be easy because it's like half rank or single rank or something. So you're still gonna get the full like dual channel 2 DVC. So I guess yeah, DDR5 6000. Okay, yeah, I mean it's up to you if you want to do that. Personally, I would never run a computer with 16 gigs of RAM, especially if you're running Windows. I would never run Windows 11 with 16 gigabytes of RAM. I would never do that. I mean, just for reference, this computer that I'm using here to do the live stream and everything, I'm using 27 gigs of RAM. 27 gigs of RAM. This is the reason why I'm like, yeah, 32 gigs is like what I would probably recommend, not 16, because I have easily been able to almost every day I exceed 16 gigs of RAM on Windows. I mean, if you're on Linux, maybe 16 is okay for a while, but if you're on Windows, no, no. 16 gigs is like below minimum spec for Windows 11. Microsoft might say 8 gigabytes is minimum, but let's be honest, it's Windows. It needs 32 gigs of RAM. But yeah, I guess if I was in your situation, I'd probably try to double up and go to 32. I mean, if you're still within the return window, you might want to. I would probably tell you to return that RAM and actually try to get an actual 32 gig kit. Try to do like, what's the lowest price they've got on this? See, like this one. Here's a Patriot Viper, Venom, Clev, or Clever, whatever. This is like, okay, yeah. See, like these 32 gigs for 300. Oh, this is one. Oh no, it's 2 sticks. Yeah, so for like less than $400, to me, this is a better deal than spending 250 times 2 for 4 sticks that are maxing out at 32. So I'd probably tell you, I guess if it's possible to return that RAM, I would return the RAM and try to get a 32 gig kit. 2 sticks of 16 times 2. That's probably better. You're going to save money that way, and you'll still have an upgrade path to double up to 64 in the future. So that's what I would do. Yeah, I wouldn't do 16 gigs. I mean, unless if you're past the return window, like someone's saying you can sell it. I mean, I guess you could also do that. But your options are either return the RAM. The best choice is to return the RAM and buy a 32 gig kit. The alternative is to try to sell it and then buy a 32 gig kit. And then the other option is to, because the thing about that type of RAM, I guess you can sell it, but the RAM that really has the high resale value right now are anything that's 32 gigs and above. So those smaller half rank stuff doesn't really I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So if you can return, I would just return it. That's the easiest thing to do, is return it and get a 32 gig kit. If you're beyond the return window, then your options are you can try to sell it and then get a 32 gig kit, or just buy the same kit again and then just run 32 gigs across 4 sticks. But that's like the last option. I don't like that option, if that makes sense, because 4 sticks maxing at 32 gigs total, to me that feels so 2017, because that's what I was doing in 2017. So I'm just putting things into perspective of like how I ran my own computer. So that's why I would not recommend doing that. I mean, that's like the last option. So anyway, hopefully that's useful advice. If I was in a situation, I'd try to return the RAM, but it depends on when you bought it. But yeah, for the games though, I'm probably gonna be playing more Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and then in September we've got 2 games. Let's see. We go back to Paint. So August, Xenoblade 2 on Switch 2. September, we have Onimusha. Neo 3 DLC was mentioned. Neo 3 DLC, I will be taking a look at that. Neo 3 DLC, just like we took a look at the Ninja Gaiden 4 DLC earlier this year. We will be looking at the Neo 3 DLC this month. Onimusha is next month. And there's another game. Maybe I'll declare it as a secret game and not reveal it until later. Hold on, let me make sure of something. Let me see, when is this coming out? Okay, yeah. So Onimusha plus secret game. So we're just gonna call it the secret game. Well, I won't reveal its name. Just like last year. Remember, there was a secret game that I never revealed the name until the launch day. We'll do the exact same thing. That will be September, although me telling the month is probably going to give people a hint, a huge hint on what that game actually is, because it is coming out in September. I just confirmed it. So that is September. And then what is the other game? Well, like, what is in October? There was some other game that I keep forgetting. I can't remember what it is right now. I don't have anything in my notes here for this. I don't know why it's not in here. October. I don't know what is in October, actually. Oh, there was another article. There were some gaming articles that I wanted to talk about, and we skipped over all of them because we got so into talking about motherboards. Monster Hunter. Okay, let me just go through some of this stuff. Monster Hunter Wilds chases world's 22 million units record as Capcom. Man, Capcom. This is the year of the Capcom. Capcom Capcom has put out so many games this year, and all of those games have been really, really good. There hasn't been a single game that Capcom launched this year. Now, obviously, Monster Hunter was last year, so that doesn't count. But there hasn't been a single game that Capcom has launched that hasn't been good. All of them have been good. In fact, there's one of them that I unfortunately had to skip over, similar to what we're doing with Beast of Reincarnation, but the game that I skipped over, unlike Beast of Reincarnation, got really good reviews. In fact, I actually bought the game and I never even started up the game once. So if I have time, I would like to go back and revisit that game. That game is, well, let's open up Paint. That game is... Okay, we got to get rid of all this stuff here. This is just too much stuff. Get rid of all this racing wheel and all that. Yeah, no, get rid of all this. So let's list all of Capcom's awesome games that they put out this year. Capcom's epic, okay, well, not say epic games. Capcom's games for 2026. So, what was the first one? Resident Evil Requiem. What was the second one? Monster Hunter Stories 3. This is the game that I skipped over. This is the game that I skipped over. And I really want to play it. But I unfortunately skipped over it because of Neo 3. Okay, so then the next game was Pragmata. Now, what else? Oni Musha, Way of the Sword, is coming out next month. We will absolutely, even though I skipped over Phantom Blade Zero, I will definitely not be skipping Oni Musha. So this is an established OG from the PS2 and beyond, and PS2 era mostly. We'll be looking at this game. So we already live streamed the demo, so we will definitely be playing Oni Musha, Way of the Sword. So many games. There was Street Fighter DLC. Yeah, there was Street Fighter DLC. When was that? That was like somewhere in here, I think. There was Street Fighter DLC. But we're not over. We're not even done yet, man. We're not even done yet. We are not even done yet. We're not even done yet. Hold on. Let me see. Oh, man. Yeah, here we go. Oh, man. Dragons. Dogma 2. Dark Arisen. Expansion to 2024's Dragon's Dogma 2. That will be what I will be streaming in October. Dragon's Dogma 2 Dark Arisen. This is a DLC expansion. So similar to Endless Ragnarok, which was an expansion to Grand Blue Fantasy Relink from 2024, we are getting Dark Arisen, a Capcom expansion to 2024. There seems to be a pattern here of Dragon's Dogma 2. This is one of my favorite games of 2024, alongside Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, which is another one of my favorite games from 2024. So it's kind of weird. There's like a weird theme here. It's like you wait 2 years and now the game gets a huge expansion. So that is what we'll be streaming in October. Definitely revisiting Dragon's Dogma 2. That game was really good. So there's this. So basically, we got Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Neo 3 DLC for this month. We have Oni Musha plus the Secret game in September, and then we have Dragon's Dogma 2 Dark Arisen in October. So then that means that in November or December, there will be time for me to revisit Monster Hunter Stories 3. But man, Capcom has put out so many good games this year. If you haven't played Dragon's Dogma 2, you need to play Dragon's Dogma 2. Man, Dark Arisen, though. And the crazy thing is Capcom has released a bunch of these games on Switch 2. And they're going to release Monster Hunter Wilds on Switch 2. I have no idea how they're going to pull that off. And they're going to release Dark Arisen on Switch 2. So I don't know what the story is there, but one other thing. For those of you who signed up for it, oh man, I got to probably look for my email actually. Maybe I did get an email. Cuz it might be tomorrow. So remember guys, Duskbloods network test if you registered for the Duskbloods network test, you will be informed, I think tomorrow, of whether you were selected for the network test to basically participate in the network test. I signed up for it, so I'm still waiting to see if I think I'll get in. We'll see. I don't know. I heard that From Software or Nintendo doesn't want you to stream it, so I don't know if I'll be able to stream it. I remember when I did the Elden Ring Night Rain network test last year, there was nothing like that as far as I remember, and I did stream the network test for that game. So I gotta look into that. If I get selected for it, I'll see if I can stream it. But yeah, the network test itself will take place later this month, which means Duskbloods is probably going to be in November. I'm going to go ahead and put that in November as a placeholder. So that's one game that we will be looking at. So Switch 2 is going to get some airtime on this channel. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Duskbloods. And I'm pretty sure the secret game will also be available on Switch 2. Dragon's Dogma 2 will be on Switch 2 as well, but I already played it on PC, so we will be playing this on PC. I'm not going to play through the whole thing all over again. But yeah, man, Switch 2 has largely been ignored on this channel for basically all year. So I'm finally going back to the Switch 2. And that's pretty much it. So maybe Monster Hunter Stories 3 will be in December. And next year we have the Monster Hunter thing. And that's now we're back to this article full circle. So Capcom bets on Ascendance expansion and the Switch 2 debut. They are actually bringing Wilds to the Switch 2, which is wild. Like, considering how hard Wilds is to run. Like, that's crazy. I mean, I thought it was impressive that they were able to get Requiem running on Switch 2 as well as it does, looking as good as it does on that platform. But man, Monster Hunter Wilds is a completely different animal. It is way harder to run than Requiem because it is a multiplayer game and it is an open world RE Engine game. So it's like, whoa. So I don't know, man. If Switch 2 can do FSR frame gen, then maybe that's the secret sauce. Because I don't see them being able to pull this game off on Switch 2 without frame gen, without copious amounts of upscaling and frame gen combined. Like, I can't see them doing it any other way. Because this game requires frame gen. This is like the first game that I played that literally requires frame gen to get a consistent, smooth experience. So, yeah, next year. So you guys might have noticed that I haven't really played a lot of Monster Hunter this year because this year is what I call the off year. Like, this is the year that there's not a whole lot. There was some new content at the very beginning of the year with the Arkveld, the Arch-Tempered Arkveld, and the last major update, the performance update. And then now it's pretty much like, it's just reruns of the event missions and the events and stuff in the game, which is all good. I mean, Capcom always does this with their live service games. But this is what I consider the off year for Monster Hunter. Next year is the on year for Monster Hunter, just like last year. Because last year was the launch in February, and then it's like, basically I covered Monster Hunter all throughout the year, right alongside Night Rain. Those were the two games. I went back and I looked at, like, what games did I play the most, had the most airtime. And Monster Hunter Wilds was number 1, and Elden Ring Night Rain was number 2. And Elden Ring Night Rain, actually, I played the whole thing, platinumed the whole game on Steam, and then went back and I platinumed the whole game a second time on the PS5 Pro. That is how much I enjoyed Elden Ring Night Rain, to the point where I literally did every single thing in that game twice on 2 different platforms. It is very, very rare for me to do something like that. Because it's like, if I spent 200 hours in the game on Steam, then I spent almost 200 hours. Now, obviously, because I know how to do things, I can do things faster the second time. So I think it's for 200 hours on Steam. I did like 130 hours on PS5. So it's like 300 plus hours on Night Rain last year. And then they did the DLC update at the end of the year too. So I think From Software we'll see what happens with Duskbloods. But yeah, we'll be playing Duskbloods later this year. You did the base for Elden Ring? See, I never actually, I don't know. I played Elden Ring on PC a ton, and then I played Shadow of the Erdtree 2 years later, which would have been 2 years ago. And I don't know, man. I realize I don't do too good with open world games. Open world games are really hard for me to complete because I get so sidetracked on trying to collect every single weapon, every single armor set, every single like spell, every single ring. I try to complete every single like NPC quest line requiring New Game Plus or multiple playthroughs to see all of it because you screw some of them up on the first playthrough naturally if you're playing blind like I do. So I don't do too good with open world. I had an easier time managing all the quest lines with Dark Souls because Dark Souls is not an open world game. When they went and made it an open world game, now you got to go and you got to ride Torrent for like 4 minutes across the map to go find this one NPC and then go and do this one thing. It starts turning into an MMO, and I don't know. I'm starting to get fatigued from open world games. It's a lot. So yeah, yeah, having to replay that whole type of thing over again compared to Night Rain feels way harder to do compared to Night Rain, because Night Rain is what From Software classifies as a short form RPG, or like yeah, they call it short RPG or short form RPG. It's not like a long form RPG, which is what Elden Ring is. That's how they classify it, and they throw a whole roguelike system in Night Rain, which I actually really enjoyed. So that was one of my favorite games last year. Do I play on OLED Yes. Yes. Um, you can get Switch 2 at a pawn shop for 200-ish. You might pick it up. Switch 2 is good, man. Switch 2 is good because ever since I upgraded my living room TV to an actual 4K TV, and because I sit like 10 and a half feet away from my TV, it's like a 75-inch screen. Yeah, Switch 2 looks pretty good on a big 75-inch when you're at 4K, when you're sitting far away from it. It looks nice and crisp. Now, it's not going to look as crisp as like a 4K image that you're sitting like 3 feet away from if it's like a desktop, but I've been playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 on it, and it's really good. It's very addicting. So that's probably what we'll be doing this weekend. We'll be streaming Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Switch 2 Edition this weekend. That is a really good game. That is a really jam-packed game. I was surprised how much content is actually in that game. I will not rest. Oh, I will not stop playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 until I get all the rare blades. Well, actually, I don't know. I don't. The only one I really want to get is Cosmos. I don't really care about the other rare blades. Cosmos is the hardest one to get, and I'm a huge fan of Xenosaga on PS2. So I'm not gonna stop playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 until I get Cosmos. Once I pull Cosmos, I feel like I will instantly lose 90% of my interest in the game. So not that I don't like the game is great, but it's like right now it's like trying to pull Cosmos is the carrot on a stick, and once I pull Cosmos, there's no more carrot on the stick. So it's like now it's time to move on to another game. So either one thing's gonna happen: either I'm gonna pull Cosmos, and then we're gonna be done with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, or I'm gonna have to continue farming rare like legendary blade cores until I pull Cosmos, and then Onimusha comes out in like how many weeks is that? That's like 4 weeks from now. So I have until Onimusha comes out, which is 4 weeks, to pull Cosmos from Xenoblade 2's gotcha system. So we'll see if I can do that. But I think because people are like, man, there are some people that have played for like years and still don't have her. That's because they probably are releasing rare blades because someone told them releasing rare blades helps increase the. It does not increase the odds. It actually lowers the odds. So because I did the math, it's all Bayesian conditional probability, and I used AI to help me analyze the whole thing. And basically, the way to get Cosmos is you utilize the law of large numbers. So basically, you grind legendary blades in endgame for like anywhere. The math comes out to being anywhere from like 200 to 500 hours. Somewhere within 200 to 500 hours of playtime, you will eventually get Cosmos due to something known as the law of large numbers in Bayesian probability. So it'll statistically happen, even though the probability sounds so low. But anyway, it's not impossible. There's a ton of people that have Cosmos and they've spent like 250 minimum is like 250 hours in game. So I'm currently like 155 hours in. So I'm probably nowhere close to pulling Cosmos at this point. I'm not even max level yet. So maybe that's what we'll be doing this weekend is just farming levels. Watching you play Elden Ring. So you were wait, so you just never played PC games? Wait, when you say watching me play Elden Ring, are you talking about when I played like Elden Ring or Night Rain? Now I'm curious because Night Rain was last year, but you were playing Monster Hunter last year. So you must mean the original Elden Ring, or are you talking about Shadow of the Erd Tree from 2 years back? I don't know if I streamed my playthrough of the OG Elden Ring. I don't think this channel was established as the channel that it is back then, back in 2022. 2022 is when this channel started becoming what it is now. Night Rain was last year. Shadow of the Erd Tree was 2 years ago. So maybe it was Shadow of the Erd Tree. Because I was live streaming Shadow of the Erd Tree, and then I switched to Final Fantasy Dawn Trail. Because Dawn Trail, I transitioned from the transitions from my gaming library in 2024 were so smooth. Like I transitioned from Shadow of the Erd Tree to 14, and then 14 into like another game. I forgot what it was. I have to go back and look. But last year was really smooth too. We went from Doom the Dark Ages into Expedition 33, and then Expedition 33 into Night Rain, and then Night Rain into Death Stranding 2, then Death Stranding 2 into Donkey Kong Bonanza. And then somewhere around the Death Stranding 2, before Death Stranding 2, we were doing Switch 2 launch, and we were doing like all the launch on Mario Kart World, Fast Fusion, the Breath of the Wild or whatever on Switch 2, upscale, whatever, like all that stuff. We did all that stuff. Last year was amazing for game. Yeah, man, it was so smooth. 2024 was so good too, though. Last year, all the while, Monster Hunter. Oh yeah, it was Monster Hunter, Doom the Dark Ages, Expedition 33, into Night Rain, into Switch 2 launch, into Death Stranding 2, into Donkey Kong Bonanza, into Summer Monster Hunter. That was the Uthduna summer event, and I was doing all the event. We interwoven all the Monster Hunter events throughout the year, and then like the spring one. So and then there was the secret game, and then of that year, the secret game. And then the secret game, Lies of P Overture was somewhere in there. Lies of P Overture into the Secret game, and then the Secret game into Omega Savage, Omega on Monster Hunter. Yeah, that was last year was so good, man. Monster Hunter, and then Elden Ring Night Rain DLC at the end of the year. Yeah, last year was good. Last year was good. 2024 was good too, man. 2024 was Grand Blue Fantasy Relink into um Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Final Fantasy 7 wasn't that? Yeah, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. It was Grand Blue into Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Final Fantasy 7 into Dragon's Dogma 2, Dragon's Dogma 2 into this would have been like April 2 years ago. Into something. I can't remember anymore. Anyway, Battlefield 6 was somewhere. Was it 2 years back or last year? Battlefield 6 open beta was in one of those streams last year or the year before. And that was probably one of the most hilarious live streams I did in terms of actual gaming. The actual gaming being hilarious. Like the PUBG style and the random, like off the wall nonsense. Battlefield, yeah, the Battlefield 6 open beta. Because I never got Battlefield 6, but I did participate in the open beta, and that was some of the funniest stream. Like that was some of the most hilarious streams. Because I went back and I watched that, and I was like, I can't believe these stupid things in the game actually happened and played out the way they actually occurred. Like it was crazy. So yeah, dude, Battlefield 6 was like, what was that? What did I just witness? Like, yeah, last year was good. 2024 was good too. 2023 though had the most like high quality games. 2023 had uh Lies of P, Lords of the Fallen, uh Fires of Rubicon, Armor Core 6 Fires of Rubicon was that year. Final Fantasy 16 was that year. So many good games. Baldur's Gate 3 was that year. Starfield was that year. Yeah, 2023, man, in terms of quantity of like good games, 2023 was where it's at. 2022 had a lot of good games. 2025 had a lot of like good multiplayer co-op games. That's kind of how I remember it. Because Monster Hunter, Night Rain, and then all the other ones that I mentioned earlier. Yeah. Anyway, that's good. What is this? Nintendo revenue drops, but yet the profit soars 150% as high margin in the tariff. Yeah, I will say this, man. I've been using the Switch 2 a whole lot more than I ever used the original Switch 1. The original Switch 1 would literally give me headaches and eye fatigue because the image quality was so blurry and low res. And the game frame rates were either like 30 frames per second at best or this weird uncapped mess of juddery stutter everywhere. So Switch 1 was just was not good in terms of the performance, but Switch 2 is so much better. Oh my goodness. I've already used my Switch 2 more than double the amount of hours per month than the original Switch. Cuz the original Switch for like the last 5-6 years, it literally sat in its thing and the battery slowly drained to zero, and I would try to remember not to let the battery drain all the way to zero, you know? So but Switch 2 has been fantastic. That's the only handheld that I have. I don't have the PlayStation Portal. I don't have a Steam Deck. I don't have an Ally. So, yeah. Switch 2, man. It's good. I recommend it. And I think that's it. Yeah, we had some other articles. We'll probably talk about some of this stuff next week. All right, guys. Well, that's going to be it for this episode of Tech Thursdays. If you're new to this stream, we do these weekly shows every Thursdays, as the title of the stream implies. And we talk about all things about computer hardware. So if you're into PC building, or if you're into gaming, or both, or like home lab or workstation or whatever, we talk about that stuff too on here. Heck, my main computer is a Threadripper machine. So we do all things PC DIY. If you're interested in any of this, do get subscribed to the channel. It does help me out. And if you want to participate in the gaming live streams or the live PC builds that I occasionally do hit the bell icon to get notified when I go live. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. Thank you all for tuning in this week, and I will see you guys. If I don't see you guys this weekend on the gaming live stream, I will see you on the next episode of Tech Thursdays. Until then, take care, and I will see you next time. Thanks.